Hello and welcome everybody to round 3 action of the Fall League of the ARML. I am League founder Edwin Dizon. I'm joined by Nathaniel, who I've had the pleasure of commentating with most times, I think lots of times really. So
Yeah.
welcome, Nathaniel.
Yeah, it's been a few times that we've had together. It's been, I think, my first time this season to commentary, at least in recent times. So really excited to be back.
And so we're starting off here with B3 action. As you can tell on the upper right, we have one person who's been returning the B3 league and then 3 new players to the league. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And as we look at the standings already, one of them, Dave, is already sitting at second in the standings at a plus 145.3, while everybody else is unfortunately at least starting the league a little slowly on the negative side. Hopefully they'll look to turn that around here.
It looks like we're underway. The gong has sounded, and Elena will be our first dealer with the 10 handle Jam Cat. To the right, it looks like it will be Game Cells Dave. Across the table, Ransom is Logan, and to the left will be Hanling. And starting out as first dealer, Elena, no Dora, a bit of an awkward hand. A pair of Norths is not a value. It does have an East and a Chun hanging around, but the Chun will not be paired up, and the East, it doesn't look like it'll be either, as we see a pair of those in the hand to the left. And so really slow start for our dealer. To the right, pairs all around. We see 3 of them, but also a bit of an awkward hand. There is a Dora to work with. Across the table, a pair of Souths. It looks like a hand that might be building towards just a Ricci Dora 1. And to the left, we have Hunley with perhaps the nicest hand at the table. Does decide to discard that East pair, thinking about maybe shifting this to a Tanya, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Well, the thing was, they were already sitting Ishan 10 for Chitoy, which was theoretically a possibility, but it's still rather cheap, no Dora. And I guess by skewing the East to that point, they were going to try to push for some type of Tanya hand, try to add more value. Immediately gain an Anko of the 6, so they're actually sitting Ishan 10 at this point.
Yeah, potentially on the Shampon 7 Mon 7 pin weight if the nicer side draws. But it looks like we see a couple of bones across to the right. A Tanya push perhaps, or if you can draw some more Dora, maybe even a Sanchoku Doko. But looking
Yeah,
to be just
there's only one left though in the wall, so even if they got it, they would need help from one of the other 2 players.
And that doesn't seem as likely. We see the call for Tempai on that 7 Mon 7 pin weight, just for Tanya only.
It's not ideal, but at the same time, while they were trying to build more value, if they see their Toyman across on them making 2 calls already, general assumption is that they're probably close to Tempai, and at that point, if you're trying to win the hand, you might as well take your 1,000 and maybe deny the other person whatever the heck they have. Because, like you said, for all they know, they could be sitting on the Doko. They just don't see the Dora. So it's possible they're just trying to cut this off while they can.
Exactly. Well, there's the opportunity to change weights. Declined on the 5 Mon draw. Could have switched to the 6 Mon Kanchan. Perhaps if you draw the Dora at that point, then you'll make the weight switch. And also there are many improvements in the Pinzu as well for a weight switch.
As it stands, though, they're only waiting on 2 tiles because one of their weights is the Dora indicator, and the other one's sitting in Aliena's hand, which is not gonna come out anytime soon, I would imagine.
Pretty well locked in there. The hand with 2 calls, still Ishanten. Oh, has drawn a Dora.
I mean, yes, the Doko possibility is there, but like again, who's dropping the Dora in this situation?
It's unlikely.
Uh-oh, that's not good. Elena dropping the 9 Mon. I don't know what they're gonna do here because wait, there goes a 7. So never mind.
And that's okay.
They pay into the cheap 1,000 points because if they had possibly gone in the other direction and tried to discard a Monzu, you'd be worried they might discard the Dora, and then there'd be a whole lot of...
Yeah, that'd be Hanemon Tanyao, Sanshoku Dora 3.
I would have imagined they would have kept the Dora, though, and discarded the 5, but you never know, really.
Right. Well, we move on to our second dealer. And this will be Dave, of course, who was building that massive hand. This isn't so bad as a start. You have potential at 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku. Maybe you can shift to a Tanyao. Or maybe draw into one of your honor pairs, your value honor pairs. No Dora just yet. To the right, we've got a fairly standard start here. Might end up shifting to a Tanyao as well. Can accept the Dora 6-mon nicely, but doesn't have it just yet. Across the table, 3 pairs again, kind of awkward shapes. We might be able to turn this into a Pifu if you can draw some sequences. And then to the left, Elena with a much better starting hand than as dealer, and a Dora included. So maybe you can build towards Itsu. Perhaps there is some type of Pifu or Sanshoku available as well.
Yeah, I would imagine if anything, there might be a Sanshoku opportunity. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that fixes a lot of shapes.
You know, there's still the possibility this does not end up being Sanshoku, but especially, you know, how long are you gonna wait when you have 2 Kanchan weights both on the 5-mon? But you know, if you manage to fill one more of those in, oh, now you have Tanyao. I mean, admittedly, you don't have a pair, and that's still the issue. It could have kept the 6 so and had a pair. But I mean, things are still looking pretty rosy right now, I'd have to say.
Yeah, a dealer making some progress as well. Still trying to decide whether 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4 Sanshoku is possible. Oh, and now that the 1-so draw makes you think, could I have had that Itsu? But pretty well locked into this Tanyao here.
Yeah, I don't think you
throw
could
that right back.
Yeah.
And of course, you'd love to draw around that 6-mon. Use the 4-mon as your pair and really go for that Tanyao, Pinfu, Sanshoku type hand.
I think that probably their ideal pair would have been like the 3, so I guess at that point, because that really confirms the Sanshoku, because now you're having the 4, 5, 6. But that's a big ask, and that's where discarding the 9 so there, even though it made sense if you're trying to go for the Tanya or make a callable hand, kind of bites you back in terms of the fact that you didn't have the pair.
And now speeding up the hand with a call here, Ishanten headless. So we'd love to pair up 3, 4 mon or 6, 7 pin. And that's kind of important that they're speeding up here, because dealer picked up an amazing 6-mon draws. Now Ishanten, now Ipeko potential with this Ishanten. So it could be quite an expensive hand.
Expensive, but if we're gonna go for the Ipeko, the hand, unless they draw like a 3 pin,
right?
Actually, regardless, the weight's gonna be awful, because either they're gonna be waiting on the 3-so Kanchan to confirm the Ipeko, or unless they decide they're gonna wait 1-4.
Right, you lose Tanyao, but the 1 pin looks pretty good right now. Oh, but we see Arichi to the right. Richi Nomi, it looks like, waiting on the 6-9 pin.
And I mean, if by looking at that comes out
was Tenpai
right
found,
out,
but dropped the wrong tile. Fortunately, only 2,600 for that Richi Ipatsu win.
Yeah, I guess it's tough. I mean, you have your Tenpai. It is Tanya Dora for 2,000. It is the Ipatsu turn. There have been some people who talk about whether or not you really include Ipatsu in your calculations about how you proceed with the hand. I don't know if going for it for 2,000 is worth possibly doing it on the Ipatsu turn, but I mean, otherwise you're just completely giving up on the hand, and I don't really know if maybe this early on you might want to be on the side of caution. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an awkward situation regardless, but paid out for Dave, who is sorry, not Dave, but rather Logan, who is now dealer and starts with a pair of Dora, also 2 away from Tenpai. So quite a nice start here. Aiming to be Richi Dora 2, or maybe even 3 if you can. Well, I guess it's not going to be 3 unless it's discard from someone else, because we can see the rest of the Dora at this table. The 6-so is in the hand to the right, a hand that's looking for a Richi potential Pifu, and also across the table in Elena's hand, who is looking for something quite similar. Can even shift this into a Tanyao as well, and there's a world where 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku occurs. And then the final hand to the left, Dave has the pair of Haku, might just start calling and speeding his hand to its conclusion.
The shapes are there, but they're not great. The 4-so kind of helps, because you can certainly do things like pawn the 2-mon 2 or not 2-pin 2-so along with the Haku and get to your Tenpai. The 6-8 Monsu is going to be a little awkward, but yeah, I think that's definitely a callable hand if the Haku does come out.
Elena now
and actually, I would have almost considered calling that 4
Yeah, that would be
Forso as well.
valid as well.
Considering that
Elena
it'd just be hard to get.
dropping the Forso because this hand is now Ishanten. Here we see the Tuso, and again, thinking about it, there it goes, and chooses the Tanyao route.
It is perfectly fine. You don't see the Haku come out from anybody, so you could be worried that you're Mochi Mochi.
Elena filling that Kanchan now with the Richi, Tanyao, Pinghu, Dora 1, massive hand waiting on the 4-7 Mon, 4-7 Mon. Almost with the 6-7-8 Sanshoko, didn't quite come together that way. Dealer has a hand that looks like it's worth fighting for, but might have to discard 4-7, depending on how they choose to play it.
If they're going to go for the Tanya route, if they're going to call, I would imagine, I was going to say they discard the 8-9, so. They still discard the 8 anyways, and it doesn't matter.
Sumo. Well, do we see Ura? There's Ura. Big pickup for Elena. That's 12,000 on the Hanemon. Richi, Tsumo, Pinghu, Dora, Ura, and something else.
Yep, for big swing of the night thrown here on this table.
Yeah, and well, it is up to Hanli now to make a play. Hasn't really been a big participant in this game just yet. I think the dealer hand, though, is a good opportunity. Chance for Tanyao and Ipeko, perhaps even Pinghu as well. It looks like we're waiting for a draw to happen. Perhaps we got a bit of the Tenho bug.
Yeah, it might be a little. It might need to refresh the. Is it refresh or there we go?
There we go. Yeah. The other hands have been shaping up a little bit.
So we actually have a call across for the looking to get into the 1-2-3 Sanshoku. Everybody else might pick up on that just because of the fact that you might think, is it Honitsu or an Itsu, but the 7-so discard on turn 2 probably dissuades from that. So if you're doing some mental arithmetic or gymnastics around there, you're thinking that they have a Yakuhai or maybe something along the lines of 1-2-3 Sanshoku. But again, if somebody is going to hold their hand based upon holding those tiles, I mean, you could have almost put them out of the hand too.
Yeah, and this is a really nice pickup for a ransom here for Logan. A second Dora to accompany that East call. And this hand is Ishanten for East Dora 2.
Confirm, and now they're waiting on Dora Tonki, which I wouldn't blame them for.
Yes.
But again, the thinking goes, okay, they have Sanshoku, what else could they have? I don't know if you'd ever put them on like a Chanta-ish type weight or hand based upon those discards, especially if they've discarded like the West Yakuhai. So maybe the door could sneak its way out there somewhere, but it'd have to be the last one. And depending upon, now if the last one comes out, it's double Roan.
And we can see the last one's actually sitting as the first discard to the right. So
that's right. Never mind.
More Dora available. So the hand across is totally dead because I do not think they'll be getting off of this 9-mon wait. And if they do, they'll actually deal in. We see a Richi from Jamcat. Well,
now you might come out.
That's maybe the one.
Yeah.
And we'll deal into the Mongon. Surprise
just because
Mongon.
The person that declared Richi had discarded Dora on turn 1.
That is a little unfortunate. But Mahjong is like that sometimes. We'll shift over to Elena's dealership. Now, Elena had won that big Hanemon previously in first place with a great starting hand. Some pretty nice shapes here. I want to see an Ipeko built in the Pinzu. It just feels like the type of shape that can come together in that way. Oh, we see an early 6-pin cut, so perhaps not. To the right, we have a Dora in hand as well. So nice.
Actually, just tiles. Quickly there, what do you think about the 6-pin cut there?
I almost feel like it was a disconnect. I think usually you keep it in hand. Yeah, I'm concerned about that.
There might be there might be some issue there. Yeah.
Oh, and this can be unfortunate because so many Pinzu tiles are being drawn here. Oh, I think we're back. Okay. Well, the hand to the right is looking very pretty. Across the table, a mass of pin tiles as well. Perhaps you think about building a 789 Sanchoku, but outside of that, there's not a whole lot of value there. And then to the left, we are in the south round, so you can call the south wind for value. But no, the Dora has no connector tiles just yet. Probably going to try to build around that one as well.
But given that they hold the like a 9-pin and the 1 sub, my guess is that South comes out, they are still going to go call it.
Yeah. And you're in a position, we're in the south round, we're approaching the end of the game. Usually in the second half, you start to concern yourself a little bit more with position and final score. And currently at a negative scoreline should the game end here. You want to make it to 30,000. So picking up 2,000 is at least get you level. Oh, and there we see the confirmation on the screen. The red name for Jamcat, the red score line, indicates some internet issues. So hopefully those get resolved. We do see the south call come out. And now that 789 Sanchoku kind of being drawn across the table, that hand is getting closer.
You need a pair though, and that's where you're gonna run into some possible issues. Right now, your pair is the 8-mon, so
right, you can't build 789 Sanchoku when the 8-mon is your pair. At least not in this current formation. Oh my, Elena, despite the connection issues, drawing into Ishan 10 for Sanchoku Dora 1.
Hanlei not giving up the door just yet. Did have the hanging 3-6-mon, so is gonna probably have that Dora as part of their final weight somewhere along the line. But to draw around that 5-star is gonna be a lot difficult because across from them, Logan. That would be Dave is now Tenpai on the 3-6. So
yeah, holding so many of those important connector tiles. Oh, will we see a con? No, declined. Just not enough value here for it, I guess.
I would imagine so.
And here's an interesting move. We see a Ricci across the table. Will be Ricci Pinghu.
4-7.
4-7, yeah.
Oh, that's not. Oh,
yeah. This is a little dangerous.
This would be dangerous for Hanlei if they're gonna keep on holding the Dora.
Right.
Because if they hold on to the Dora, that 7-pin's going. Unless somehow they can find themselves to drop the 3-pin pair, but I doubt that. Yeah.
Yeah, here it goes. So Ricci Pinghu, will we see an Uda? None. Nope. So just the 2,000 points. We'll shift dealer once again. That actually does give Logan the lead by a mere 200 points. As we enter South 2, it'll be Dave's dealership. Haipai looking pretty good. Tanyao type tiles in hand. 2 Mondora acceptance available. To the right, that's a lot of Sozu.
And not only Sozu, but just the fact that they almost have a confirmed Ipeiko 789, and they're not that far away from Itsu if they get the 1-2, and then not that far away from Mahonitsu, and this hand could get rather expensive quickly.
Yeah, we see them declining the 9 so-call, perhaps because of all those great closed hands that have potential. Across the table, 1, 2, 3 so confirmed with that draw, and this hand is only 2 away from Tenpai, actually. With the Dora included.
For that Otozuke North call.
Oh, Elena on the left with the call. Ishan 10 now. Does need the North, though. And we see a call from Dealer, who is perhaps sensing they need to speed their own hand up. Finds Tenpai, actually, on the 7, so 3 held across the table. Only 1 left in the wall, but this is Tanyao Dora 1.
So do you think... there is something to be said for expediency here. Would you have kept that Kontron weight, or with the fact that you had the 5-mon, consider ditching the 6-8 instead, even if it takes you back a step?
Oh, well, here's the 7.
Well, it doesn't matter.
We'll see the Roan. Yeah, I kind of like taking the Tenpai here earlier. I might have considered even calling the 4-pin though, and going Tanki. But it definitely is a consideration to keep the 5-mon and assume that you'll be able to draw more Mon tiles, especially because you can make use of another Dora that way, I believe.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because I mean, like, I understand the getting the Tenpai and everything, and I mean, you do in having the Kontron weight where you could just as easily make a call somewhere on the lines and have a better weight. Given the situation on the board, wondering if that was even should have been a consideration. Not necessarily the right thing to do, but at least a consideration.
Yeah, also, if you were reading a Sohonitsu to the right, you might start to wonder, well, how many 7-so are there actually left in the wall? But did manage to find one, and we are on to the first continuance of the South round. It looked like Dave was thinking about making a Tanyao here, but instead pairs up the Haku, and so is now Atozuke waiting for the third Haku to come out and be called. And we see,
except that looking to our left, okay, so they're never mind. They discarded a West. I was thinking, is there a possibility for a Kokushi try? But I guess they weren't gonna have any of that.
Yeah, it feels more like Elena's thinking Chanta here, perhaps.
There's a lot of terminals and honors that she's gonna have to discard to get there, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like she just has a lot of single tiles.
Yeah, the hand was so bad at the start. It was hard to imagine it coming together. Although we see Tenpai already. Look across the table. There's Ipeco Tenpai waiting on the 7-pin with 2 Dora. Ipeco Dora 2, 5,200 points.
I can see the reason why you consider Damaing this, but you also have that 4-pin discard you made earlier, and I don't know how many people would take Tsuji off of that to the 7, but never mind. I think you're going to reach this now. Discard 7, right? Question mark?
Or you could discard the 8.
Oh, you discard the 8 for the 6-9, but you're already holding 3 9-pin, and who's discarding Dora into you, right?
It'd be a 3-6-9 weight, and yeah, this might be a little bit trickier.
And who? Oh no!
Wait. It was like, who's waiting on the 1-so? I was trying to figure that out. Is that
I just saw that too. It's like, why is that red? And it's like, oh. So wow, okay. So that
it wanted to be Chinitsu so badly, but the pairs came together first. And I believe they even had the opportunity to shift towards the Chinitsu after drawing a third 9-mon, but chose to maintain the quiet Tenpai. And that solidifies the lead a bit for Logan here. Now with 40,000 points, 6,000 above the closest competitor, and with a great starting hand again. We'll be aiming for Irichi here.
Realistically, that was really unfortunate for Hanlei because they had just gotten to Tenpai. They had declared Richi, and if you looked at the discards, the 8-pin would have looked fine to discard based upon what they had. And the trap was perfectly set up for Richi Dora 3, at least.
Yeah.
And yet, 1,600 points later, it's South 3.
Yeah, Logan was discarding all the tiles, all the pin tiles. So it was bound to come out eventually, you felt, but Chitoi wins first. And, well, let's see. Outside of dealer, does anybody look strong here? We see 1 door in the hand to the right. That might be a pretty good hand. We're actually Isha Dian Shanten there. Lacking a pair.
There's some way of making that hand expensive in certain ways, whether it be maybe you have an Ipeco, maybe you can add another Dora into that mix somewhere.
Well, speaking of expensive hands, Logan is finding a way here. Perhaps we can draw more Anko. Perhaps
still
we just
will need
again.
Still will need 2 more here. So unless they decide to take the Chitoi route. Oh, okay, you're not taking the Chitoi route anymore now.
So this is Ishanten for Suanko Tenpai.
And I like the 4-so discard just because if looking at the table, that 6-pin looks easier to discard out there than anything else if you're just going to hold on to it and maybe settle for something later if you think you have to.
Yeah, of course, this is the most efficient as well. If you draw a 5/8 pin, you can declare Richi for potential Sun Uncle, of course. 2 Dora drawn
now
to the right.
Now they're committing. Now they're committing with that 6 discard. So
they say the South is guaranteed to be safe, where it's Toi Toi or Suanko or bust. Oh, another pair drawn across the table. Kind of pair heavy hands now. And it's a shame the hand to the right has the...
There's no pairs on the right. That's a Richi for...
Richi Dora 2 winning the 2-5.
Yep.
Oh, 2-pin drawn across the table.
But the thing is that Pinzu look expensive. Who's discarding it? And I
Double
mean, you
rundown.
also, yeah.
Logan says, I can't wait anymore for the Suanko. I need to call the 7. So 2-pin, 7-pin wait for Logan, and Elena's in some trouble here.
2-pin's dead. Oh no, that's it.
Yeah.
Should be it.
There we go. So Ricci door 2 and no Ura, so just the 5200. We move to South 4, and the battle for first place still tight again, down to 800 points of separation.
Not just that, but Hanlei's just trying, if anything, just wants to at least get over 30 and finish over 30, if nothing else.
Yeah, goal number 1, make it to 30,000. Goal number 2, claim first. You're actually not that far away.
And they've got a Hatsu pair that they can at least call if they need to go here, and they're not necessarily imperative that they need to call, but certainly can make a fast hand here, get the 1500, and try again for a more expensive hand.
Well, let's draw our attention across the table to Dave's hand. 5-pin Anko, 8-so pair, West pair, Chun pair.
Dear, if that follows through, there's a chance that Hanlei could even end up in last.
Yeah, this could be devastating. If you can make Toy Toy, Yakuhai, that's the Mongon. Not quite enough to make it to 30,000, but at least enough
short,
to surpass.
But yeah. Well, there's wait a minute. Double Yakuhai, Toy Toy, Dora 3. That's enough.
Oh,
but
there's a to take Dora 3. It's enough to pass.
It's enough to pass. They still they're just short of 30,000, so they're going to take the -5.
But you accept that. You will.
Yeah, you accept that. Yeah.
Oh, that is again unlucky for Hanlei to. I mean, who would expect an attempt by that early?
With Dora 3.
With Dora 3, a silent Dora 3.
You have to shake your head on that one. I'd just be like, oh god, you're kidding me. But
well, that game certainly had some thrilling moments. Those final 2 hands, Suanko Ishanten, and then that just Dora bomb.
Means that what is it? Logan here takes these are pretty, I would say, somewhat what's the word for it? Somewhat benign scores in terms of plus minuses. Admittedly, yes, Hanlei's -20.7 does hurt still regardless, but it just seems like as if it was just more of an unfortunate game for them more than anything else.
Yeah. This was the position 1-2 heading into that final round, because 3rd and 4th changed places. Logan does finish on top, Elena 2nd, which is a good pickup. Elena needed these points, and hopefully we'll be able to continue that in game number 2, which should begin fairly shortly. And for Dave,
about another minute or so.
Yeah, it's a good example of minimizing damage. Is in a very strong position currently in 2nd place overall in the standings in the B3 division. But when you can avoid losing 20 points and only lose 5 points, those small changes in position end up adding up big time by the end of the season. So
well, and they certainly do this time around, because unlike the other seasons where we've had basically a masses of people being promoted, then we're now starting to finally settle down now. And as you can see, we have 36 people in this division, only 7 people are promoting, so you're only looking at 20% of the people here getting out into B2. And lineups right now for our second winter season are a little bit on the lower side. I would imagine that because we've had a lot of people join throughout the year. But if we get any numbers similar to what we had in the prior season, like last season or two, we're going to be looking at taking that B3 league and probably creating a C1 league as well.
Wow. So potential for even more growth. And speaking about the Logan and the other players in this standings, hopefully we'll be able to advance to Dave and Logan and everybody else, advancing up the ranks season by season. And if we do have that C1 division, it will be exciting to have another rung on the ladder. But we've begun game number 2. Logan, the current dealer, started off with an almost complete 789 Sanchoku, but now has some decisions to make. Currently, the 9-mon being used as your pair, and so
yeah, it made that
for
rather uncomfortable. And with already a call of the Chun across the way, ideally you'd want to have value and have the 789, but at the same time, you don't want to hamstring yourself and get caught in a situation where somebody's just got a fast hand that's going to take your dealership for 1,000.
And so instead, we'll choose to lean towards the Pink Dora 1, reach Pink Dora 1 probably. Widens the weight a bit by retaining that 3-mon. And we saw, of course,
certainly gain some flexibility with that. You were saying?
Then we saw 2 calls across the table at hand to Ishanten for Dave, and now Tenpai will choose the 2 5-weight presumably in the Monzu. So Chunomi just aiming to shift the dealership forward.
That 2 was coming out as soon as that call was made. That was a hanging 2. So there's the dealership gone for 1,000, unfortunately.
Okay, this game starting out the same as the last one, 1,000 points to start us off. Move the dealership along to Hanlei's first chance this game. Does draw a Dora on their first draw.
But man, the rest of it just kind of... Yeah, there's some people that talk about like 13 broken. It's like, this is... I mean, they now have 3 pairs, so I guess you can possibly entertain Chi-Toi, although, again, you could even call for Toi Toi if you manage to get one of the terminals and honors, but that's a slog.
Now, the hand that we currently see across the table, that is the south seat. That is Dave, who started with an Anko of the Chun and the 6-pin, and drew into the 2-mon, chose not to accept it, but it does end up discarding the Dora here, as we have a pretty nice Ishanten. And across the table, this is looking pretty nice as well, as that Ishanten as well. More pairs.
Interesting commit that Dave had to make over there, because they discarded the 8-pin earlier, ended up drawing the 7, which theoretically could have helped them had they kept both, but at the same time, it's like... Actually, I'm not quite sure, because you had the 579 Ryokan weight, and while that does have 2 different weights you could be theoretically working to fill that with, it's still rather inefficient, and I wonder if maybe instead of discarding that 7-pin earlier, they could have discarded that 579. Doesn't matter, though, because across from us, we do have a Ricci.
Oh, and that leads to dealer choosing to discard away from the Dora. So it looks like a fold from dealer here.
It's interesting because what was that? 1, 2, 3. They actually could have been Tenpai for Chi-Toi had they kept those 1-pins.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if necessarily they had anything safe, because a 6-7-mon would have looked dangerous to discard regardless, but... Oh, this is... Yeah. I was going to say, like, if they're bailing this, then the 1-mon has to go. Can they even continue to push for their hand here?
And we really see everyone kind of working away from their Tenpai. Dave discarding 3 Chuns, but is actually still pretty close. Ishanten, actually.
Here's the question, though: if the Dora is passed, how expensive can that hand be?
That's a good point. Yeah, I believe the Chun had already come out though when it came after the first 1-pin. So you
my guess is that
at that point.
If you were Hanlei, you were holding Dora, and like you could have had Chi-Toi Dora 2, for instance. I mean, you're holding the Dora. How expensive can that hand be across from you, even if you paid into it? That's the only thing I'd be wondering. And I guess maybe they're just erring on the side of caution here, at least to start. Maybe not pushing something where they could end up behind early.
Mm-hmm. Dave finds Tenpai at the very last moment. So we'll claim some Tenpai payments as well. 1,500 goes the way of Dave and Elena. We still have the 1,000-point Ricci stick in the middle of the pot as we enter East 3 will be Dave's dealership. Has a pair of those Chuns.
Well, has 4 pairs.
Yeah, 4 pairs and a completed set though. So perhaps
Yeah,
this Dora.
This is certainly Otozuke, or not Otozuke, but this is. Oh, you're right. The Dora. I mean,
That's question marks, right? If you draw another pair, I think the Dora might send you towards the Chitoy route.
well,
Now,
either Chitoy or Toy Toy. I mean,
right.
Because what you can do is if you draw the Dora, you can hedge, discard the 2-pin, and then now you can go either way. Call the tune.
Just draw.
Yeah, now this is
Dora comes out. So now the question is, if you see a callable tile come out, are you just grabbing the Tempai now, or do you want to wait with your Ishantem?
Considering all the Souths are out now, I would almost err on the side of calling, just taking my Tempai. I'd prefer if I could call the 6-pin, so that my weight's on either the 1-pin or the 8-so, because they're further outside tiles. I'm not sure how comfortable I'd be if the 6-pin has to be one of my weights, but I'd take it if I need to.
And perhaps the call to the left puts a little bit of pressure on you as well. You see the Hatsu called, and that hand's starting to come together for So Anko and a couple of Yamen shapes. So Ishanten there.
Across the table, it looks like they want to be close, but they're not quite yet.
Right. Might end up needing to start calling for Tanya and discarding the 1-2 pin. Oh, we see Tempai. This would be a Shampon 6-pin 8-so weight. Does not declare the Richi. Perhaps hoping to draw a Yamen improvement.
Right, and I think this is, to me at least, this seems correct, because I don't know how comfortable I'd be waiting on that 6-pin looking at what's out there, which means I'm just waiting on just the 8-so, waiting on possibly 2 tiles. So, I mean, if I can Dama and take the 1500, great. If not, then, and I do manage to get a Ryamen weight somewhere, which would have to be around the 6 now, because you've already discarded the 9.
Well, we see, without declaring the Richi, that allows the rest of the table to push freely, and Logan declares the Richi. 1-4 Mon is the weight here. Oh, and it comes out right away.
Yeah, they were stuck. I don't know if they didn't really have any tiles that were safe against that Richi, because most of the tiles they had discarded were outside. So it's like, well, what do I choose? And unfortunately chose wrong there.
But fortunately, just the Richi Patsunoda. So we continue on with some still fairly close scores. Our dealer now, Elena, has the June pair this time, as well as 2 other pairs. And we'll go Otozuke calling the North immediately. Now, I wonder if this is going to shift to a Toy Toy, perhaps. A speculative Toy Toy call, or just the Otozuke.
I think the next discard here. Okay, yeah, see, I'm trying to think about what they're trying to angle towards, and the 1-pin...
This seems like just an Otozuke, right?
Yeah.
You just keep all of your blocks, 6-8 block, the 8-9 block, and just hope for the tune to come out, which it does. So now we've got a hand.
Problem is, you're waiting for all the 7s.
Yeah, the 7s. And another player who's waiting for a 7 is Logan on the right, with what wants to be a Honitsu East hand, perhaps even Itsu as well. And here's an opportunity to swap out from the 8-9, or instead chooses to go headless. So this works as well.
Does it, though? I mean, wouldn't you take your pair at this point and then discard one of your Kanchan weights?
I think, yeah, normally I would like to have the 5, 6, 7, 7 shape, but headless is also pretty strong too.
And the reasoning being?
Well, you just have 4 different tiles that you can pair up for the Tempai. And the awkward bit is that no matter which tile you pair up, your Tempai is going to be not the greatest. Oh, and here's a 4-mon draw. That's Tempai. Logan not declaring the Richi here. Perhaps wants to look at the weight a little bit longer. And there's room for improvement as well. There's your Tempai on the west. What a tricky weight from Elena. Doesn't end up finding the head.
The Wests are across from her, looking for possibly for their
and chooses
what?
Yeah, not the 5-8. We're waiting on the tricky West.
But the problem is, again, their Wests are sitting across from her, and they're
the last one comes out.
Oh my gosh.
That is incredible. And the extra food from the terminal, or rather the Honor Con, will make it a 150, 2,400 point hand. And Logan is like, where were my Easts? And I think they were sitting across the table. Mochi there.
Yep. Only waiting for the 9-mon, really, at that point.
Well, that was some creative hand building, and it paid off for Elena, who now is in, third place, but is second place, yeah, very closely contesting first now. And Asadora has good shapes. Maybe even
double Itsu opportunities, because you don't know which one you could possibly get out of that.
So it depends on your next tile drawn, and there's a pin tile. That doesn't help the Itsu, though.
Doesn't help the Itsu.
So maybe you just play normally from here, although that could end up being your pair. Yeah, we see the 1 pin come out. So we're going to be making normal decisions here. To the right, lots of Tanyao tiles, Pingfu chance, and you want to draw around that Dora 5-so. Across the table, we see the 1, 3, 5, 7, 8 backbone for an Itsu, but the problem is you have 2 7s and 2 8s, so you were kind of hoping to make Ipeko there. 2 away from Tenpai. To the left, we have a Dora in hand. The 3, 4, 5 Sanshuk is a bit far away, so we're just aiming for Tanyao and Pinghu. In the meantime, Elena is getting closer and now pairs up the 2-so, so this is great. Ishanten
probably should discard the 1, and now you can flex that 4-5-5 pin shape as well.
Now this is that perfect Ishanten. You can of course draw the 3-6 pin or the 6-9 so, or you could draw an Anko of the 5 pin or 2-so and declare reach either way. Very strong dealer hand. Can anybody catch up? We see Logan on the right has paired up the Dora now.
Dave is currently headless, but has got tons of Yamen weights. Excuse me.
And we see, of course, Ishanten to the right, Ishanten from dealer. Across the table, not quite Ishanten still. Oh, actually, that is Ishanten. The 6-mon was drawn, so everyone's getting super close. Who's going to find Tenpai first? Oh, and it's going to be dealer. You see the Ricci double-sided weight, presumably. Yep, 3-6 pin. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Already in hand or discarded. So only 2 left in the wall. Oh, and a chase is going to come out. Champon waiting on Dora and the 4-mon. The 2-mon was a Suji discard to the dealer Ricci, so a little bit safer here. Also, you can win on the Dora. You're not going to ever discard that. Oh,
never mind. Never mind.
From Elena. Wow. Okay, this is going to be huge then. Ricci, Tsumo, Ipatsu, Pingfu, Dora, and no Ura, but 4,000 all. Elena will jump into the lead once again. And the last game, she got chased down, but this looks pretty commanding.
Half of the game to play, though, but she gets to continue her dealership for now to try to extend that lead further. The hand, though, does have Dora, does have some shapes. Well, it's probably going to need a little bit of work.
Yeah, it's a hand that I'm not complaining about when I start with this. I've got, a chance at making Pinghu. I've got some decent floaters. Probably be dropping some of these honors, though. Oh, or drawing into the honors, and now I'm really happy. All the blocks are pretty much set. Oh. Well, that's a bit of a surprise. I thought the 9-mon might end up acting as the pair in this hand, but gets called instead. And now we see a call across the table from Hanli, who is just aiming for a fast hand to move this along. Ishanten there.
Dave's got an interesting hand going over there. Does decide to discard the Hatsu after all, because you wouldn't have blamed them if maybe they kept it and could have angled towards something like more of a Honitsu side of things, especially with all that Monzu over there.
Mm-hmm.
But
and that was the final.
To forego it.
That was the final remaining Yakuhai, right? The Chun had cleared, the Haku had cleared, the East had cleared, so that was the only one that could have been called for value. But we see Hanley drawing into the 7, so fourth the Tempai, just waiting on the 5 mon. Doesn't look like the 5 mon's coming out though.
Continues to get more Monzu, and I mean, okay, there would have been only one Hatsu left now that you know that it's been called, but you know that Honitsu, that theoretical Honitsu was certainly a possibility.
Ooh, another con. Dealer hand still Ishanten. With a double Yamen weight. At this point, you're just trying to find a safe tile, right? Get rid of the 6-pin, replace it with some honor tile that's been mostly discarded.
Why don't you just discard the 6-pin right now?
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good play.
Because your 2 Forces are somewhat hiding the 2 the 2 Forces hiding the 2. So if you're looking for a safe discard, that would have been it.
Yeah. So always important to think about the safety side of things once you've got your blocks pretty much set. And now
Dave's Chinitsu is SOL at this point. If they're gonna go for the Chinitsu, that 5-pin's coming out and that pays in.
So another hand, Hatsu Dora 1, June 40 for 3,900. Elena continues to put pressure on the rest of the table as dealer. Starts with a Dora and some reasonable shapes. This hand maybe not quite as good as the previous, even though it has a similar number of blocks to begin with. Just a little bit more awkward shapes. To the right, we see 1, 2, 3 pairs, and those shapes look a little bit better. Across the table, that is the south wind that could be called. We might see Hanley go for that fast win again, especially now that Dave has dealt in, and there's a tie for third and fourth, just grabbing a little bit of an advantage moving into the south round, even if it's only 1,900 points with the Honba. And then to the left, Dave again with a lot of Mon tiles, but might be working more towards the Itsu than the Honitsu.
So, just going back quickly to that last hand there, the only reason why Elena was able to even finish that hand was because she got the Hatsu that Dave had discarded, and if Dave had any inkling of going for a Honitsu Chinitsu, should have probably kept the Hatsu, never given Elena the possibility to go Atazuke, and could have actually been able to finish their hand, or if nothing else, at least delay her trying to push forward with her hand because she's still waiting for the Hatsu.
Yeah, so, I think it's a situation where there's a bit of indecision about which hand to go for, and I think the original plan was to just take the Ricci, and then after drawing a million Mon tiles, like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should go for the Honitsu after all, but it was a little too late at that point.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for denying people tiles as opposed to like just discarding the ones that you don't need.
Well, some massive developments here. Dealer has drawn into an Anko of Dora and now declares Ricci Dora 3, waiting on the 7 mon. It is the 7 mon across the table. There's Suaku Ishanten, and so we might see a chase here. Although the 3-pin has already been.
Oh my god! How is that even a thing? What can't I get? Just like everybody screaming at the same. Why can't I do this?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness! Well,
it's a 7 mon, a central tile. They haven't discarded any Monzu at all, so you think that people would be worried of discarding it at all, and yet doesn't matter because just draw on your Ipatsu turn and just take everybody's points. And just kind of like sneer at them with a face and just be like, ha, I have the points. Oh my god.
And because of the Ipatsu, that makes it a Hanuman for the full 18,000. And so Elena with a massive advantage now. And we're not even done with the East round yet. Although perhaps this hand will end it because it doesn't look that promising.
It doesn't matter at this point because everybody else, because they're so close together, nobody can really. I mean, it's usually you don't try to say, oh well, I'm going to try and catch up to first. Right. But even at this, but now especially so because everybody's like, well, I'm just too close to everybody else. I don't want to try to go for some big hands while everybody else is going to get 1,000 points, and the next thing I know, I'm in fourth because I was trying to do something I didn't need to.
Exactly.
So everybody else is just going to fight for second now.
Yeah, when everyone is in damage minimization mode, the hands get a lot scrappier. And we see an early call from Hanley across the table for East Dora 1. Ishanten there, but very wide weights. Dealer keeps drawing pairs, so that's something, I guess. It's a plan. It's a tough one, but
Well, any plan is better than no plan. So
yeah, we
even
see
giving up as a plan is still better than no plan.
yeah, to the right, pairs as well, 4 of them. But this looks like it wants to be Ipeco or Tanya or something along those lines, maybe even both at the same time. And to the left, that's a pretty normal hand as well. Choosing to discard.
It's another pair.
This isn't surely not again. This is Ishan Ten for dealer, for Chitoy of all things.
I mean, they're gonna have to discard the 7-mon unless they draw it again, so it almost limits what their weight is going to be to
Well,
either the 3 or the 4, probably.
Perhaps the best possible draw across the table for Hanli. Pairs up the Dora. So now Tempai on the 3/6 mon for East Dora 2.
And they might get fortunate depending upon what Elena decides to discard. Oh, they're not going to go for Chitoy. They're giving it up, and they're going to go for what?
Unless your plan is to draw 2/7, so I'm not actually sure what it's going to end up being. Perhaps
Itsu?
Itsu, yeah.
Itsu?
It's another callable hand, though. I can't really call that one.
Well, you could. You could just discard.
Yeah.
You just have to discard another 6/8. And so we have the Rishi for the 3/6 mon.
2 players waiting on that now.
Yeah, I don't. But again, based upon what's being, I don't see it coming out based upon what's being discarded. I'm actually surprised there wasn't the break of the Ipatsu. That it doesn't matter because now they're Ishan 10 for that Itsu after all.
Yeah, 8 mon running thin though. That was the 3rd one discarded.
Well, if we've seen any, if last hand was any indication, when it comes to their turn again, they're going to draw the 8-mon.
3rd Dora drawn across the table. Now switches the weight to the Genbutsu 2-mon. Now, the rest of the table should see the 4-mon come out and understand that this is a push. Oh, what?
I called that 8, so how the hell did I call that 8? Oh, 8-mon, I'm like, oh my god!
There's only 1 8 so left. Surely not. Surely not. The 6 is dead. There's no way. So 3/6 versus 3/6 mon versus 2/5 mon versus the last 8 so. And Dave is giving up. There's the 2 mon. It comes out, and that will deal into a huge Mongon. Not only the East Door 3, but also a couple Ricci 6 as well. And that puts Hanli in a commanding second. Now the only player with a good chance of making it to 30,000, although still just south 1. I can't believe Elena got that close to completing the hand, though. It took so many twists and turns, and finally ended up drawing.
You know that when you and I have been here, I've called stuff. I cannot believe.
Listen,
I managed to call that 8-mon draw.
Whenever we're casting together, you always have the calls, and it just always happens. I've come to expect it. Well, here we are in the South round. We have Logan as dealer in last place currently, but this is your chance to climb out. You have the South pair. No Dora, but maybe just hoping to call the South and get a dealer repeat, especially given that Hanli has already called the tune, aiming for something fast. You can't let that happen. We just have yet to see the South come out. 1 across the table in Dave's hand, and then 1 in the wall.
There's a Dora draw, but I don't know how that fits in, but they're going to keep a hold of it anyways. There's the South.
Okay, now you don't need to go open. You can declare Ricci eventually. Ideal draw, of course, would be the 4-mon here, as we are Ishan 10. But I think you might...
4-mon for Tempai, but if you paired up like I was going to just say...
Yeah, you might start to think a little bit more aggressively even. There's San Anko chance here.
The only thing that would stop you is just the situation at the table. Yes, it would be great to get a Yakuman, but if you give up your dealership for the Yakuman chance, just to go for it, I mean, or if you give up your dealership for the Yakuman chance, when you could have had a possibly just a decent sized hand with Yakuhai, say San Anko. I mean, yeah. So here
And
they
there's
are. They're
call.
taking the Tenpai. Yep. Wait,
Or
no.
not. Tenpai declined. We are going Toy Toy.
If
Oh,
that's
Khan?
the case,
Oh, I was thinking you might con with the current point standing and
If
no
that's
door
the
in hand.
well, but if you're going to call the one so anyways, why? I mean, maybe because you're still far away, and you don't want to maybe give the other two players an idea of possibly going for their hands into declining Ricci because there's two Uradora possibility. I can see that.
And maybe hoping to bait out a Suji 8-Bon or something like that, but now I think you have to call for Tenpai. The player to your right has made 2 calls already.
They didn't, though. They are temp. Wait, they're giving that up too.
Yeah, this is just a Toy Toy commit. Was 5 cut already? Maybe they're like, it's less likely to draw into that.
But I mean, you could have still gone for it by hedging, discarding the 3-Mon.
Yeah, I think it's imperative that you find Tenpai here. Because you can't risk losing your dealership to whatever the player to the right is doing. And silently, actually, we see to the left, Elena drawing into the second Dora, still has some awkward tiles. This east is twice cut. It's basically a safe tile at this point. And then that north wind had yet to be seen, I believe. Oh, there's two discarded early. So just holding on to these safe tiles. And perhaps from Elena's position of strength, they can do that.
There's the sumo. It was a 1-4-7 weight. I was going to say that Dave had a possibility of dealing into that because they had paired up the 5, so it doesn't matter. It is only a little. It only is 1,100 points, but more than that, it kills Logan's dealership and puts him and Dave really behind the 8-ball. Although Dave does have their dealership left.
Right. So we move over to Hanley's dealership. Pairs up the north has 3 other pairs to accompany that. Not much beyond that. No Dora. We see a south call from Elena, who has 3 pairs as well outside of that. Again,
and the Dora.
And a Dora. So, oh goodness, if that Dora gets paired up.
And just fill their Kanchan weight. Jesus.
So this looks like a hand that's definitely in Elena's favor. Two easily callable tiles.
This is a perfect shutdown hand because you're shutting down second place.
I think she'll switch. I think she'll drop. Oh, she doesn't. Okay. I thought we might see 5-pin come out for the Chanta
I think it maybe if they were looking for more value, perhaps, but I think this is right. This is right.
I also agree because the Haku. Oh, it just got paired up on the left though, so maybe the Haku not going to come out after all.
I think though that the decision making was fine.
Yeah, I agree. And we've got a Dora draw. And now we're shifting gears. Oh, this is Tenpai. How does this happen? Just then, decides to discard the Haku pair. So this is Tenpai for potentially non-Haku Chanta Dora 3.
But here's the thing: if this looks anything remotely Chanta-ish on the Dora, this is going to be a self-draw. There's no way you can discard this. Absolutely none. There should be absolutely no reason why it gets discarded.
And there, the Dora locked up. So just the Mongon then, if the 4 Mon comes out. But because I don't see any world where those Dora do.
That's another pair.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, oh, that's some tough question marks, but doesn't matter when you just sumo. Elena really steamrolling this table with its sumos, and that hurts Dealer the most. Dealer was the
again shutting down the person that would have, if there was any threat at all this game, that door just got closed with authority.
And so now it's on Dave. Really, you are just hoping to escape with third. You don't want to drop to fourth here, and being Dealer puts you in a bit of a precarious position.
And if you're either Dave or Logan at this point, you have to win this hand. And the reason why is because once we get to South 4, Elena could just give up the hand and be done with it. Just be no 10. And if that's the case, then you're in a race. You'd be in a race to try to get points in that last hand because you know it's the last hand.
Yeah, whoever gets the points first wins, right? It's just a one-hand game at that point. So you need to get as much of an advantage as you can in South 3 while you still have the chance. And well, Dave has a bit of an opportunity here with the South pair in hand. Does call the pawn, has a Dora as well. So maybe pick up a quick 2,900 points and go again. Elena wants nothing to do with dealer hands. Just got Ishanten already. Atozuke waiting on the Hatsu.
And if there's any indication, like people are willing to drop that Atozuke, so no reason to believe that it wouldn't come out at some point in time. Even if Hanley dealt in at this point, it's going to be it's going to be only what, 1,000. So like, what would they care really?
Right. I mean, it does draw them a bit closer to third, but it's not going to be very expensive. And there's the Haku, the last remaining dragon that hasn't been paired up yet. Is that Hatsu?
I imagine like the North and the Hatsu are going to come out. Like
here's a draw, so we'll retain that.
But like, if you're Dave, you're just kind of like, oh.
The other hands here aren't bad though. Although Ishanten across the table. Tenpai now.
Richitani Alpinfu, hope for an Ura, and hope for a Roan. That's 8,000.
And now Dave has some serious question marks here. Starts with a Genbutsu 8, so...
Oh, that would have been an Ipeiko they could have thrown on there, but you never would have known that.
Oh, that's the wrong 6. That's the wrong tile. That does not win, and now you're permanent Huriten. Do you need to sumo the Hatsu if you're Elena here? And Elena actually doesn't even seem to care about dealing in here. There's the Hatsu would have sumoed if you could have dropped the 8-pin, but instead
you're waiting on the 8-pin.
Oh no, this could be a deal in for Hanley. Finds the safe tune first. 5-pin scary, so we'll switch the weight. Tsuji trap though. Do we see the 8-pin come out now?
But I mean, boy, okay, there's another 5-pin out, so.
And this is an expensive hand for dealer. This is Tenpai with potential for Dora 3. There's one Dora remaining in the wall.
Yeah, but who's discarding?
Oh, there's the 4, and that will deal in. So that's actually...
No Ura.
That's fine. Yeah, rather deal into that than allow dealer to get a bonk on sumo.
Well, no, I was looking at more at it from Logan's side. If they hit Ura with a Mongon and they'd be in third place. They're still chasing fourth right now, and you have to imagine that either Elena is just going to is either going to try to get more points or is going to shut this down immediately.
I have the feeling Elena, especially with this high pie, is just going to fight for everything. I mean, consider the overall standings.
I think for this point, they're going to fight if they have a hand like this, they would fight for points. I think, yeah. And then maybe fold the next hand. Just don't push too hard, I guess.
It'll be very difficult to lose your position, but currently you're sitting at, a plus, 20 plus 51, so plus 71. Oh, I guess it's exactly the score. Rather 10 less. So 60 plus 61.4. That would just be incredible in one game. Now I'm looking across the table at this hand that is Ishanten and wondering, can this turn into Suanko? It's only got one Anko set, but so many pairs. It could be Chitoi, it could be Ipeiko, it could be any number of things. We see the South come out. Elena will call. Elena actually Ishanten for non-Sanshoku potentially.
And the thing is that you have the players on either side of her really are just looking for even just 1,000-point hand, because 1,000-point hand will determine third place at that point.
And those are the players who have possibly the worst hands, relatively speaking, around the table. There's the Ricci across the table from Hanley, who is aiming for a Mongon. Wants to make it over 30k. Oh, and it will come right out from Elena. So this will be Ricci, Ipatsu, Ipeiko, and Noura.
So that actually
shy.
fall short of 30,000, which means that Elena gets the full plus 20 out of this.
And this is going to be a big win for Elena here. Plus 56.2. Far cry from the plus 20 that first place got in the last game. Plus 25. I don't know. It was about plus 20 in that last game. So Elena will be climbing the standings here. And Hunley with the very small negative here. Dave, slightly larger, negative 22, third place. And then Logan eating the negative 32.8. But it wasn't necessarily these players' fault for having these large negative scores. Really, it was just the Elena show. Like, she was putting on an absolute monster performance.
They got Zamboni'd is what they happened.
Just steamrolled by. And they were pretty much all Tsumos from Elena's side of things. Ippas Tsumos at that.
Oh.
And so, wow, that was fantastic.
So I believe that takes care. I think they were only looking at 2 games at that point.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Let me
I think you're right. I think I remember seeing that. I know a few games have started. There's another B3 game starting very soon.
We have 3 different games we can actually we can go to.
Okay, yeah, an A1 match, a B3 match, and another B3 match.
I wish I should have put a poll up.
Yeah, right. Get a poll to see. I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying this B3 action. There are some new players, some new play styles.
But even then, we have 2 choices. There's a
game that just started, right? Maybe we could hop to that one.
Okay, there's that one. The other one does have one of our IORMC participants.
Oh, that's so tempting too, though. I see Jess is in there.
Jess is the one that managed to get the highest single scoring session in session 1 of 262 and barely managed to keep her average positive. So she has a seat for this weekend's competition.
Yeah, IORMC this Saturday, early in the morning. So maybe we'll watch that game. It'll give us a chance to take a couple minutes of break time and set up the match, set up the standings, the scoreboards, and everything, so that we'll be able to watch the full game. So yeah, let's do that. Let's switch to that B3-9 matchup. That will begin in about 3 minutes. We'll take a quick break while we load up that data. All right, welcome back, everybody. Beginning this B3 matchup, we're on table 9. Starting as first dealer will be the IORMC qualifier, Jessa. To the right, the 1 DM, Chris. Across the table, QT is Andrew. And to the left, Rob Glass as well, Rob G. So, to start us off, a couple of quick calls. We see the Hatsu across the table. We see the Non to the right. Everyone going for something fast here. Each of those called tiles is part of a hand that contains 1 Dora. So, of course, both players will be trying to make use of that Dora as much as possible. Perhaps a little bit easier for Chris on the right to do than Andrew across the table. But there's a potential that Andrew might end up on a Dora Tonkiewicz, so that'll be exciting. In the meantime, our dealer is trying to build towards something standard, something closed, and having drawn a Dora themselves, of course, trying to make use of that would require another Dora draw or an 8-so pickup. And now there's the potential for Itsu to be built here. The hand that we haven't really looked at yet is the one on the left. And Rob here with a really nice one, actually. There's a world where 789 Sanchoku occurs, but a couple of tiles off of that, and unfortunately not really callable unless you plan on discarding the 8-9 block. And even then, that would require, Tanya would require the 6-0 as well. So a couple of very specific draws needed here. And this shape here, though, the 4-4, 5, 6-6, 7, 8-8, it wants to be Ipeco in 2 different ways. But we see actually across the table, Andrew drew into the second Dora and then got the call of the third. So Hatsu Dora 3 on the board. This is Tempai for the 5 pin, and the rest of the table are on high alert.
Yeah, but there's no indication as to what the heck it could be.
Yeah. How do you play against this then? You're assuming probably Tempai, but just draw it yourself. How about that? Andrew must have been watching the last game, knows exactly what to do. Just Sumo picks up the Mongon, and what a start. We will move to our next dealer, who was Chris. And this is a pretty nice start. Anytime you're a dealer and you start with a pair of Easts, you're pretty happy. The rest of the hand could use a little bit of work, but there's some really nice floaters here with the 4 pin, the 6 mon, and even the 1 mon there connects to the Dora.
That was the thing I was wondering is, like, you had enough there that you could have even entertained possibly some Chanta type-ish stuff. And you could have, like, hedged that with, like, an 8-so discard first, maybe, or something like that. Just because, like, if you get the 7, then you're not confirmed for that. But they paired up the 6 months, so really it's just moot at this point. Just go for a normal double Yakuhai hand.
Right. To the right, Andrew is looking for a normal hand themselves. It looks like just a Ricci currently, potentially ending up on that 8-9 pin Shampom. Across the table, we have a fairly standard hand progression as well. Maybe there's a world where the Itsu comes together, but it looks like it just wants to be a normal Ricci. Shape's a little bit awkward currently. You have the 7-7-8 Mon shape, which is nice. But the 1-2-2 and the 8-8-9 Penchon combo is a little bit less useful than the Dianmin version. And then to the left, we have just a very normal hand, aiming for Ricci. And hopefully, if you can fill in all your Conchons. That's a lot of Conchons to fill.
Oh, that's another pair across the way. I was going to say, like, I mean, if with that extra 1 and that extra 9, is like, you could just consider calling the 2-pin, 8-pin going for Tanya, but now you've drawn your 5th pair, and it's like, well, I guess Chitoi is a thing.
Yeah, right. Chitoi, no Dora currently, but of course, the second you draw one, it's likely going to end up being your weight. Oh, we see a shift to the right. This is going to turn into a Tanya now, making the hand callable by discarding the 9 pin. And of course, if you draw something like the 7 pin, you can still declare the Ricci.
Huge Chitoi deciding to drop the 7 mon, having gotten their 6-7-8 mon shape, is still going to need some help, though, because the 1-1-2-2-4 shape is not ideal, and still you have the 8-8-9.
Speaking of Chitoi, dealer also Ishan 10 for Chitoi as well. And pairs continuing to be drawn to the right.
Rob filled 8-9 shape, so they're getting the tiles they need.
Tenpai
and draws
finally
another
found...
pair and is probably just like, I don't need this. I wasn't going for you.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation here. Really? Really? Right now? All right, you're going back. Yeah, the weight is the 4-7, so if we're just Tanyao Dora 1 to the right, of course, we can see all the 7-mon lighting up and on the table in the hand to the left.
And the things they just drew the Dora, so it's like, well, what do you do?
Oh, there's
There's
Ricci.
your cheat toy Tenpai.
Which pin tile do you want to wait on? Chooses the 6 pin.
It just seemed Finzu look a little bit expensive on the board, though. I don't know if I could have waited for a turn.
Could be nice, depending on what tiles get discarded around it. But yeah, there is, of course, always the possibility to just wait a turn and try to find a better weight. But it is late. We're already deep in the second row. And hit that Ricci button very quickly. Now, here's a question for Andrew. Do you want to push this 3? It looks super scary, and Andrew does not. So we'll choose to bail out of this hand.
Give Chris an out, though, because if anyone wants to play Nakasuji, that... Oh, she's like, now that they discarded the 3.
Yeah, Jessa was the one who discarded it.
It's the Nakasuji's available, which would pay.
Oh, it might come out even now.
Yeah. So that's really fortunate in that sense. And the 2 are
will be painful
on the 6 pin. So okay, fine. You know what? If if you end up getting the Urador on your weight, it's like okay, I give.
Pick the right one. And now starting with the East pair again. This time maybe we'll have the chance to even call for it. Who knows? Lots of honor tiles, and actually discarding the 3 so first is quite interesting. Maybe now that we've drawn the 6-mon, no, still hanging on to those honors. So perhaps even dreaming about.
Well, if that's the case, like I mean, what are you looking for exactly? Because if you're going for Honitsu, you could have just pitched the 7 pin. If you're gonna go for something like, like Yakuhai Chanta-ish, then what's the 4-5-5-6 doing there? So it's a little, it's a little questionable in the sense of like, what was your plan really?
Right. I mean, the idea perhaps is to pair up some of these honor tiles, but it's a lot less likely that you pair up the honors than it is to draw around these nice tiles like the 5-mon and the 3 pin. So I think I prefer also just discarding some of these, like the South Wind, the West Wind, all the ones basically.
I don't mind that idea of going for like for holding on to them and maybe adding some, another Yakuhai or something. But if you are, you probably want to add some more value to that because you're slowing your hand down considerably. So making it like a double Yakuhai toy, or double Yakuhai Honitsu, I mean, either of those, makes your hand much more expensive and possibly worth taking that little extra effort for.
Meanwhile, the rest of the table is progressing nicely. Across the table, there is a chance that Rob could build towards the Sanchoku, but instead draws the wrong side, the 6-so instead of the 9-so. So we'll probably be building towards just a normal Ricci here, unless you can replace that tile. There is a door in hand, so that will work well.
And here's the problem for Chris, too. You see him discarding all these middle tiles, right? So everybody's like, well, if he doesn't need middle tiles, what does he need? If it's outside tiles, now you're thinking, okay, double Yakuhai Chanta at least, and if they have the door, that's a Mangan. But your hand isn't worth Mangan, and so now you're not even if you're not really getting paid off on the hand, and everybody may and even if you do, it's not going to be for as much as you could have had, right?
Yeah, I'm if a West gets drawn, even that's tough. Well, we see the Ricci, so no chance at the Winds.
And there's the West, so you would imagine the West would come out.
Yeah, so this hand to the right is a Ricci Pinhu. Potential for Dora should the 9 pin come out. There are 2 left in the wall to be drawn.
Interesting they dropped the 6-mon there. Because now it seems like a commit for Toy Toy.
Yeah, it's too late to get wins. We see 2 Souths cut and 2 West cut as well. So
But
it
the
is
north
a
is still
Toy Collection
alive.
realm.
Yeah.
But I think you would normally drop the west first because it's a safe tile to the Ricci.
Right, and that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like I can see why you do that for the toy, I guess, but you didn't have to necessarily push that. Even though it's Nakasuji, you could have just discarded the 100% safe west because what else were you going to do with that really with all the other stuff?
Tenpai found for Jessa, but that will deal the Dora right into the Ricci. So Ricci, Pinku, Dora, and an Ura is going to be painful. Well, this is going to jump Andrew up the standings into second place, right behind Chris for first. And this time it's Andrew starting with the East pair, although East is the Dora indicator. South in hand Dora for dealer. It'll be interesting to see how long Andrew chooses to hold on to this. There are good shapes elsewhere, outside of the East pair, of course, already a completed set in the Pinzu, and a nice shape in the So. To the right, lots of So tiles. Looks like Rob's going to be aiming for Honitsu here. Will be able to make quite good use of the Dora should more be drawn. Across the table, perhaps just a standard Ricci here. Shape's not amazing and not looking particularly strong for any other Yaku. Maybe an outside chance at the 678 Sanchoku. To the left, we see the Chun pair. And just a Ricci. This is actually 2 away from Tenpai already, with a 3, 4, 5 Sanchoku possibility. And thus, Dora does finally leave dealer's hand.
I can see why, but at the same time, you could have. Again, you have a Ryoncon weight in the 246, but it's still so inefficient. It's like, well, you could have easily just given those up instead.
And maybe there's some concern for what's happening on the right. We see Mon tiles and Pin tiles being discarded, and not in the usual order, right? This inner Mon and somewhat inner Pin tiles. Maybe you're thinking some type of weird Honitsu or Kokushi or something where you don't want to be holding on to a South longer than you have to. Decision for Chris. Chooses to pass up the Chun. Now, Rob will understand that delay likely means that there's a pair of Chuns elsewhere in the hand. I wonder if Rob will also choose to discard this Chun. And it does do so. Chris will call the second and take the Tenpai here. Which weight do you want? Chooses the Champon. Well, I guess that's the only way it could have gone. There's the potential to upgrade in the future, but currently the 2-pin, 3-mon, Champon weight.
Interesting commit there because of that 3 So. Like, and it's not even for the Tanyao either. I thought that if you're going to commit the 3 So, you go for the Tanyao.
Yeah, chooses instead angled towards that Otozuka East.
Which, that's an interesting. I'm not. I mean, what do you think about that? Because when I thought the 3 So was being discarded, not that it matters anymore,
right.
that if you're going to do that,
avoiding the 1 So draw, right?
Well, you're avoiding the 1 So draw, but I mean,
I can understand wanting to slim that shape down before the Honitsu gets serious. Yeah, choosing the vulnerable one. Maybe Andrew really likes pairs because they can be called from anyone around the table and has a little bit of bias towards that type of shape. Now, hard to read into too much, but this is a really exciting hand for dealer.
Unfortunately, dealer was disconnected because they dropped that 1 Mon, which they would have rather kept.
Yeah, it would have been Tenpai already. What a shame. And that actually makes it awkward. There's a chance for a Furiten now. We see a quick call on the left, but not a lot of value there just yet. Maybe you can turn this into some type of Honitsu, or even draw some more dragons. That would be very sweet. There's another call. Probably a 2-pin coming out, or the 1 So. 1 So actually.
See, I would imagine the 2 5-pin because at least then you're either hedging. You're hedging a Honitsu or hedging, I guess, even a Chanta if you manage to draw some of the other honors. If you really
discarding 5-pin. 5-mon, 5-mon is a little bit tough. And all right, here's a decision for Rob. Do you choose to discard the 2-3 shape, even though it's a very strong shape. No, just takes the Tempai, the Hudi 10 Tempai. Not willing to declare the Ricci though. Currently,
I guess I could see why, because it's not. Because I don't know how much your Kamicha is gonna like not push their hand anyways, and since you're Furry 10, whatever they discard doesn't matter.
oh, again, an opportunity to switch out. That 6 so is very useful. You can think of the so shape as a 2-3-4, and then a 5-6 and a 6-7, and it are pretty.
But they discarded the 6-2 turns ago, though.
Yeah. They drew back into it, so there's a chance to again switch out that 2-3. Look what's happening on the left. The 3 mon was cut, but then the 4 mon was drawn, and now the dragons are coming together.
If you're gonna go for it, don't you discard the 2-5 mon? Yeah, because the 5 mon's a door indicator.
All of a sudden, this hand got incredibly expensive. The one Haku, the one in the wall. Hatsu twice in the wall.
You're guaranteed Shosangen,
Toy,
double Yakuhai, Toy, Honitsu.
Oh, will you call him to Tempai here though? Oh, so just Shosangen here. This will not win. This is Huri-ten. You can't call Chido.
I mean, people. What do you mean cheese? Oh, it's right, because they were. All right. I forgot I thought they were. For some reason, I thought they declared Ricci, but they hadn't. But who is going to put this on a? I mean, not that I don't think anybody's going to discard a Hatsu or a Chun, but even if they did, would they be expecting a Shosangen? I doubt it.
That early 3 mon makes it look tough to be a. Well, then you recalled it, so it could still be. Oh, now you can switch the weight to something that you can roan on. Declares the Ricci. Oh, you want a Tonki? Or are we going to just drop the 7? No, chooses the Tonki. Chased. Oh, everyone's going for it.
Oh no, this is a disaster for anybody. Like, Andrew is like living life right now because he's like, I've got 2 people who will deal into me if they get the wrong tile.
Oh no. Where are the 2s though? They're in the wall, right? I don't see any. Oh, there's one's Kathatsu, so there's only one Haku, one Hatsu. And even Chris is going for
there it goes.
Shosangen, Chun, Haku, Honitsu. And that is a Hanemon. Andrew will hop into the lead, 48,000 points. What a fighting hand of Mahjong that was. These players have absolutely no fear.
And like I said, Andrew had to be living life after those 2 Riccis, because like, okay, if I pay in, I pay in, but I've got 2 people who will give me my winning tile for 12,000.
Yeah, I know. I have a Hanemon.
Almost 100% guarantee. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was absolutely thrilling. And now it's on Jessa. This is your second dealership. You are currently in 3rd place. It's a bit of a distance to even catching 2nd. So you just got to make as much ground as you can here. Pair of Souths in hand, 789 Sanshoku possible. There is a world where you could even transform this into a Chanta, but currently the dragons are leaving the hand. All right, to the right, what does Chris have? Looks like a potential for a Ricci, maybe Ricci Pinfu, if you can draw the 2. So, no door just yet. Across the table, west paired up, north paired up. 4 pairs, in fact. And maybe we'll end up Chichoi on the left. There is a door in hand, but the rest of the hand looks a bit weak here. Oh, more pairs. Pairs being drawn in all sorts of places. And here's the south. Jessa does call.
Yeah.
All right, so not necessarily going to be a Chanta here, especially now that you've drawn that 5-6 shape. The question is, what is your pair going to be?
Might get the Yakuhai Sanshoku if you somehow pair up the 5-6, but that 7's got to be called for the 7-8-9.
Mm-hmm. And is called. Snatches that up. East discarded. So I guess if you
I would have considered not discarding the East, but like discarding the 6. So because that 6-8-9, I mean, you could easily just pair up the East as well, right? So if you discard the 6, maybe you can bait the 7 so to come out later if somebody had it.
Just a second call here. So now we're not going to get Sanshoku. We're just trying to find the ideal pair. And the nice thing about holding on to the 6 so is that if you draw the 7, you can end up on a Nobitan weight. And the Nobitan is fairly strong here. Ooh, that 8.
Ugly. I mean, in an ideal situation, somebody discard the 8, so you pwn, you discard the 6, you wait on the 9.
That would be quite pretty. Who would expect that? Of course, it's a Tonki weight, so all Tsuji theory is out the window.
Sure, but again,
if you're calling the 8s and discarding the 6, is unlikely that your weight's going to end up being the 9. Oh, well, this is Tenpai on the 5. Unfortunately, all the 5s in hand. I don't know if they're going to come out. Now, Andrew's 5 looking a lot more secure.
Yeah, and I just don't know if that's really the right way, because I understand that you're Tenpai, but you're Tenpai on the middle tile, and I mean, I guess if maybe you just want to take... Do you?
You can, if you want to swap. What is a good swap tile?
There isn't really. I don't think.
If the 8 comes out, you can still go Tonki and then switch around to something that's tricky. Here we go. We'll see.
Yeah, but it's not going to work in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't take the Tenpai, are you really gambling that the 8 won't come out versus the 5 not coming out? I understand the 5, of course, is inner tile and the 8 more likely to come out, but there are a lot fewer of them.
Like the only person that could have discarded the 5 looking outside at the table would have been my Toyman. Maybe. Looking to my left and my right, I don't see them discarding Sozu.
Yeah, even from Jessa's blind perspective, just looking at the discard pools, it looks like if they have a 5, they're likely incorporating it into their hand. Just
and so if that's the case, I would want to I take my chances on the outside tile.
Oh, this is a good draw. So Ishanten here for Chris. Of course, Rob has been in Ishanten for a while, but really needs the 3-pin, and Jessa is destroying those dreams. I think we might see the 6-pin come out here with the nice Yang Khan weight in the So now. Oh, Khan reveals the 4-mon. Nobody using the 4-mon, though. That's actually not giving away any extra value to the other players. Will we end in Yukioku? It seems likely at this juncture.
I think to me, once Jessa decided to go for the 5 so weight, that my guess was that she was just going to end up Ryukoku and taking possibly 3,000 points, which I guess in the grand scheme of things is better than the double Yakuhai.
Yeah, that's a perfectly acceptable result.
Barely. So I guess in the end it doesn't matter, but you had to get to the end of the hand first, and somebody could have easily caught up to you.
And well, here we go. South 1 dealer continuance begins with the Anko of East, and you're extremely pleased to see that if you're Jessa. Great shapes outside of that as well. The pin, Yankan, the Yamen, and the Manzu, and good floaters in the Sozu. So this looks like a really nice hand for Jessa. And around the table, there's a door in the hand to the right, but it's kind of floating awkwardly in that hand. The rest of the shape's not amazing either. Across the table, a few lone honor tiles. Again, shapes that are...
It's all very... The only person that might have something that's relatively fast would be Rob, and even that's not. And there's a Kanchan fill for Jessa, so I mean, already looking at Yakuhai. Well, I mean, just the Yakuhai, but it's to continue the dealership.
Yeah, could even declare Ricci upon finding Tenpai. Could call this, but I'm not sure I want to. And now with that 1-mon pickup, you slightly increase the number of tiles that you can draw for Tenpai. Oh, interesting. But you could still drop 1-mon, 1-mon here.
I could see a situation where you discard 5-6-mon. And the reason why is because it's the 4-7 you're waiting for. And again, that's a central weight. And usually those don't come out as often, right? Whereas if somebody gives you a 2-so or 3-so or a 2-mon, it's like, those come out more often.
Right. Although, there are 8 of the 4-7-mon out there to be drawn yourself. versus only 4 of the 3 mon. You kind of need to draw both of those.
Assuming that nobody holds any of them, right?
Right. But of course, someone could be holding the 3 mon as well. We can see that there are a couple 7 mon and a 4 mon being held, as well as 1 3 mon held and 1 discarded. But we find Tempai now. All right, 1 mon, 2 mon is the weight, and we can see all the tiles there.
Yeah,
we might see the 1 come out, though. That is safe to the Ricci. Instead, 2-pin first.
Push?
That hand is Ishanten with 2 Dora. Perhaps the Dora is the reasoning. Also in 4th place. Oh, but the 8-pin is going to come out. Ricci pots Pinhu Dora 1. That's another Mongon.
Unless they had hit 2, but yeah, that's a Mongon.
Okay, so Andrew really pulling far ahead here. And now Chris in a little bit of trouble. Almost dropping below 30,000. Still has dealership, still has opportunities to press forward, and a Dora in hand currently. Other shapes a bit awkward here. This 3, 5, 7, 9, almost all the odds in a suit is not promising.
Yeah, you don't get credit for all odds.
To the right, Andrew with a chance of making Ipeco in the Pinzu. Outside of that, we'll probably take a very normal hand progression. Dora acceptance with the 3-pin. Will be able to make use of the 2-pin. Now, across the table, Rob did not want the 2-pin there. It did not fit in as well with the hand. And the shapes are kind of set there, although 1, 2, the worst shape gets filled. So this is Ishanten for Pinhu if you are in Rob's seat. And Rob needs a hand here. In 4th place currently. Chooses to angle for the Ipeco, actually. And finds Tempai. That's not Tempai because the 7-pin need to be your pair. So had they chosen the other discard, would be Tempai here. Instead, we'll take a pseudo-headless Ishanten. Not really headless because you can still draw back into Tempai with the 6-9 so or the 5-8 so.
I'm interested to see what Chris's discard would be. Discard's the 4-mon in this situation because they could easily try to call for a Tanya. They have 5 pairs. No, 1. Oh, they have 4 pairs. Sorry. And they hold the Dora, so it's like, well, what exactly do you do with this? Now 5 pairs. So now there is a easy commit to the Chitoi at this point. Especially holding the Dora like that.
Yeah, I was almost expecting to see the 3-pin called, but it was passed in favor of the potential for a closed hand, and Chitoi Dora 2 would be awesome. Here we see the Ricci finally. We'll choose the 5-8 weight likely. Yeah, because that's the not Foodie 10-1.
It better not be the furry 10-1.
Yeah, so Ricci, Pinhu, no Tanya here.
Now 2 of the 5s are stuck in dealer's hand. There's another Ricci looking for just the 3-so. That could be a problem if Chris ends up getting Tempai.
Yeah, Chris really needs to draw the 3-so, but 5-so is not what you want to see, and there goes the 3-so.
Only 1,300, so not minimal damage done, but
yeah, that was scary. A 2,000-point hand would have dropped you below 30,000, and that's actually a huge win for Jessa. Needed to fight against Rob, who was fighting from 4th place, and managing to win that battle puts her 10,000 points ahead. So in much better position. We move
Andrew,
over.
Who's ahead is. I mean, Andrew could just fold this out.
Yeah, well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 singletons in a pair.
I mean, that's
just like Kokushi.
That's folding it out because you're just gonna say, "I'm gonna go for Kokushi," and if I don't get that, I can just fold. Like,
yeah, that's completely valid here. I mean, I know there's a lot of incentive to push Chris below 30,000, but you'll get another round to do that.
You have your dealership to do that.
Well, this is Andrew's dealership. We just haven't swapped.
Oh, it is. Sorry. Yeah.
And of course, it feels a little bit worse to just fold out on your dealership. But I mean, the starting hand was pretty brutal. Now, of course, dropping 2, 3, 4, you may be thinking, "Hey, I could have had something."
I think the 2-pin was like, I mean, because they had drawn enough pins, so you could have considered maybe I could actually switch this to a Honitsu. But having discarded the 2-pin, that makes it a little bit more awkward. Not quite, because there is a situation where they could end up being Tonki on the 1-pin, and who suspects the Spanish Inquisition? Like, who can expect the 1-pin unless it's an obvious Honitsu call, right? So
yeah, it's awkward. You have to make the decision: Kokushi or Honitsu. You make the decision.
There's a south. There's a south.
And now Honitsu looks likely, so does switch over. Now, interesting. Across the table, we see a pair of Dora in Jessa's hand, and choosing to discard the 6/7 mon. I wonder if this is an attempt to avoid Pingfu. Because I would normally approach this as a Pingfu hand.
Well,
you have perfect Ishanten, right?
Well, you could have discarded 2-pin if nothing else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Draws the 4.
Yeah, so it would be Tenpai on 5/8 here. And now we see a call from Andrew.
And it's a Tanya weight too. You still have to be a little side-eye because it's like, what exactly do they have? But oh my gosh, there's the Ricci for the 4/7 pin. That's got to be a call, right? No call. I guess at this point they're just like, you know what? I'm not too concerned with this. This is just for me kind of having fun with it.
This is 2 free save tiles now. Yeah, Andrew has no need to push against this hand. Also, remember, has this Dora, so unlikely to want to push this Dora against Toriichi. And maybe just realizing, I'm never pushing this tile, so I have no need to open myself up any further than I have to. Now, all the 9-pin are safe, and so a very clear path to getting out of this hand. Now, you have to worry if the 9-pin's getting pushed. Maybe the other players, well, forget that. Just Tsumo, Ricci, Tsumo, Pingfu, Dora 2, and Noda. But Jessa,
that's 30,000.
Charging 30,000. That claims second place. That actually is beating out Chris right now. If you can confirm this in South 4,
just
one more hand to get through.
Just don't lose to a Sumo, and you've got a flat +5.
Yeah, Rob with Tanya type tiles, probably just charging forward. Any victory is good at this point. And same for Jessa. Jessa has the Hatsu pair, so she can call this and charge forward as well. And her hand looks gorgeous. It is already complete with 3 Yamen weights. All the blocks are there. You just need to call it out. And there's a lot of edge weights as well. It looks like the perfect hand to close this game out. And can Chris do anything across the table? That's not bad looking either. Ishanten, actually. After 3 discards, Ishanten. To the left, this hand maybe tied with Rob for the least likely to complete.
Well, but here's the problem. If you Ricci, it's just Ricci only, isn't it? No Dora. So even if you were to get 1,300, that's still what?
Yeah, that would actually still.
Would that even be enough? No,
it would not.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
You have to find Dora there or Tsumo.
Or Ura.
Yeah. Jessa. Now Ishanten. Rob's kind of putting something together at this point. There's a world where no longer a world for 5, 6, 7 Sanshoku.
Have been a stretch.
Rinshan, I don't think would have been the strategy. I guess you're not even Tenpai yet, so couldn't even work.
Now, Jessa could have called that 6-mon, right? Because eventually it'd be a Ryamen weight, right? Or is it just that it's sideways. You wouldn't have actually been making any progress. Yeah,
and now at this point you have to choose which 2 Nyamen shapes you want. And interesting. I guess we can see 2 of the 1-mon. Oh, there's a Ricci. Chris got there.
But again,
the 1/4.
It's for Ricci only.
Yeah, it's not Pingfu because of the 7-mon Anko. So you need Sumo, or you need an Ura.
Sumo, or you need an Ura.
And of course, Rob's got to fight. He's Ishanten. 1-4. Only one of the one pin is discarded. 7 tiles in the wall for the Tsumo. It feels inevitable to be drawn, and here's one, but Andrew will hold on to it. Andrew with a pair of Dora, of course, but doesn't need to fight for this hand. A second Dora comes out from the Ricci hand. And Rob, begging for Tenpai, cannot find anything. 6 is Genbutsu, but if you drop the 3, there's a chance that Sanshoku chooses the safe discard, though. And this is a really awkward position for Jessa. If someone deals into the Ricci, it's okay, but not if it's too big. Here's the 1. Check the Ura. It's not there. And this is going to fall just short. 29-7. I mean, you have to take it, right? You can't know how many of your winning tiles are left in the wall. I think you just bank on the Ura.
If you had any inkling that Rob might be able to get another hand out of it, you could have tried to not try to push this way, but you just didn't. And so taking the Tenpai, declaring the Ricci, and hoping for Ura was probably the best they could have figured at the time.
Yeah, that's a tough endgame situation, whether to, if you are in a tournament or something, a situation where you have perfect knowledge about what you need, that could add some extra pressure. But this early in the season, we're only in round 3, maybe you just bank on the Ura chance and hope for the best. And if you lose negative, you end up with this negative 5.3, that's not the end of the world. That's a very small, almost the smallest negative third that you can get. Justin will claim the second place after that, just barely coming back to 30,000 with a plus 5.0. And Andrew, the big winner, 36.6 after that marvelous Shosangen hand.
Puts them at the top of the standings, so.
Yeah, overall. And this is the 4th game of this set. So this table is all finished. Andrew finishing on top overall. Chris just outside the promotion range currently. Jessa climbing a little bit. Rob dropping a little bit as well. And they will have session 4 to look forward to in the next week or so.
So at this point, we can jump into the A1-2 game. They would have at least maybe gone through East 1 or East 2. Or we go to the other B3 game, which will be starting in 1 minute. So I don't know where you want to go with that. You said you wanted to watch Luce and Luce play, so I don't know if you still want to jump in there if they're already 6 minutes in.
Yeah, we could hop in there. We could make it a full B3 set. I don't have a particular preference.
I don't have a preference either. So if you just want to get clean games, and then we can switch to B3-3.
Sure, let's do that. As much as I'd love to watch this, these other 2 tables, it'd be pretty cool to catch just a full set of B3 action. I mean, they've been some really exciting games and some interesting hands, interesting situations that we find ourselves in.
B3-3 playing right now, and it being near 7 o'clock. Well, actually, here's the other thing. Like A1 should actually be starting in a couple minutes. I forgot about that. We're at 1900 Pacific time, so A1-1 would be starting up here. And should we just wait for that then? I mean, that I would imagine.
Yeah, I think that was going to be one of our target games for the evening. It will be a little bit of a wait though. About.
Well, what we can do is we can at least maybe just go look, just peek in. Do like one of those sports things, peek into the B3-3 game, and then
we could peek into any of these games. Then
actually, it's true.
There's a B1 match that's going on as well. That started a little while ago. It should be close to finishing.
Well,
maybe
I don't know about finishing. They're probably
maybe about
halfway.
20 minutes away from finishing, but they'll have seen some action.
Yeah, and that's an interesting table with Michael McLeod and Josh, who's come back from paternity leave. Cute kid. That should be an interesting table, and Michael, is really behind the 8 ball here early. Is sitting actually pretty deep down the standings, and I think from what I've been able to read, it's just been a spate of bad luck
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to be able to get out of that. So,
Yeah, let's
why don't
hop into
we-
that B1 match. I'm curious. The other two players at the table, I'm quite excited to watch as well. Anya and Andrew. I
And
know.
Andrew definitely has a lot of discussions in the What We Do channel. So
Yeah,
uh,
and I know a couple. I know at least. I believe Anya is planning to make it out to the Cincinnati tournament, and I'm also going to be there. So looking forward to meeting Anya and Michael and some players from the Ohio clubs, the Cincinnati club, and some players from the Oklahoma club, and just Kentucky and Virginia, and just all of these different regions. I'm really looking forward to that, and of course,
I
we
believe
get to see a
registration is
snapshot
still
of the
open.
play. Yeah, I
Um,
think there's about
I think it's
a
this
few
weekend is the
days.
closing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it closes on Saturday. So there's still a few days to sign up. There were like 8 slots last I checked. So a little bit of opportunity. But it looks like we are hopping to the game. We're in East 4, and Arichi, is this going to be Ipatsu?
Was Son? No, no, sorry. I was like,
Arichi, Ipatsu.
That's still 9,600. And oh my God, Michael McLeod paid in. We
shouldn't have hopped in just now. We were just a curse.
Michael. We're sorry. I'm so sorry.
Or maybe we're a blessing. We're the blessing for Andrew. Just well, Andrew had
Michael had the lead too.
Well, Andrew at 44,400 points. It's a lot of fours. And a very nice high pie. Adora, potential for Ipeko, Tanya, Pinfu, a lot of things possible here. To the right, it's Anya, who is not starting with such a great high pie. There is a world where you can find Junchan and Sanchoku. That would be pretty nice. And it looks like that's what Anya's angling towards. Across the table, this isn't too bad. There's the potential to incorporate the Dora. Add some okay shapes, just some awkward ones to fill in as well. And now we're up to 4 pairs. So interesting to see how that hand will develop. On the left, this is Josh, who has the East and the South paired up. A smattering of pin tiles. And if you continue to drop pin tiles, you might turn this into a Honitsu. But you better drop them soon.
On the table right now for dealer.
Yeah, dealer hand, definitely the one to beat. And it looks like the 5-8 so was discarded because the 7 is Dora, and Andrew wants to make full use of those.
That's another pair.
Well, now we have Chitoid chances, 5 pairs.
I can see why you make that call.
2 possibly.
I can see why you make that call, because you still entertain the ideas of having Ipeko, Pinfu, things like that. If you were to discard the 3 or the 6 pin, you would definitely be committing for the Chitoid.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing is
this doesn't have to be a Chitoid hand, right?
2 of the 4 pins have been discarded, so I'm not quite sure how likely you are to fill that in. Here's the other worst part: you haven't discarded any Pinzu. So, like, let's say you fill in that 4 pin. I mean, what are you discarding? The 5-6 one, and then you're waiting for a Pinzu tile?
Yeah, but you'd be discarding some of those Pinzu away, I think. And yeah, 3rd 4 pin comes out, so Chitoid is definitely seeming likely here. Of course, Pullen is possible, and there's an Onko drawn. Well, I think you have to keep that now. So the 3 pin will come out. You can call 2, 4, or 7 pin, as well as the 5 pin. But those tiles are running thin. And of course, you can call the Mon tile, but the pin seems a bit harder to find at the moment. Although I guess all the 7s are gone, and some of the 4s as well.
Not that having another pair would have mattered, but
I mean, I think you drop the door for the Chitoid Tepai. That's pretty easy decision for me to make, at least.
Wouldn't you discard like the 6 pin, and then you could either hedge for calling for Tenpai, or even if you really wanted to be greedy, although it's getting more later, looking for a Sananko chance or something.
I think given the lateness, I just like taking.
Oh, given the lateness, you probably just take the Tenpai.
I like the Mangan Tenpai. I mean, that is definitely something to consider if it's early on, but even then, I might still just take the Mangan Tenpai. And you could even reach for Hanneman.
No help. No help to get Tenpai right now.
Yeah, really, the last 2 pins locked up. The 5 pins are pretty much locked up as well. Yeah, Josh is out, so 5 pins gone. You just need to draw a 4-7 yourself. 7 is tile too late, and no one tempai after this round. So we'll move forward into the south round. Anya's dealership. And it looks like it's a reasonable starting point hand. There's the opportunity to draw and incorporate the Dora. You have a pair and a couple of shapes all set to go. And the other important part is there are good floaters here. Even your honor tiles are somewhat useful to you. So not a bad high pie as dealer. To the right, we have Michael, who's got double south ready to go, and a Dora. So at least 3,900 possible. Maybe you can even increase the value if you can.
Oh
build this
God,
enclosed.
Junchan Ipeko.
Oh my goodness, on the left. This is ridiculous. Already Ishan 10? How? Andrew is on fire. And even committing, full committing, not even taking the Yankan shape.
You have to commit. Yeah.
And I think it's excusable to say I'll maximize my tempai draws with this big lead, but yeah, just going for max value here. Needs an 8-mon, needs a 2-so. And the Toyman, of course, struggling to put something together. Oh, there's an East pair, but do you really want that? No, says Andrew. Let's throw that right back. This is my safe tile. 8-mon, 2-so. Those are the only 2 tiles that I can see at this moment.
Okay, so how many? There's still 2 8-mon left?
Yeah.
In the
yes, 2 8-mon and
2 2-so left.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's an 8-mon. Could call, but that reduces the value significantly. Andrew doesn't want it.
Yeah, and like people are like, well, you called the 8-mon, but for what? Right?
So it'd be a 2-hun hand. You could push the dealership forward, but keeping it closed is 3-han plus the Peiko's Mongon. There's just so much value in keeping it closed. Now, I think if another one comes out, you probably take it.
Yeah.
Especially now that Michael has called the Souths in. Oh no, there's another 8. So only 1 left in the wall here, and there's a Ricci from Anya. Now you wish you'd made the call. So you've got to fight against a dealer Ricci here. It's a 4-7 mon weight for just Ricci Nomi.
Are you fighting?
Yeah, are you fighting is the question.
This could just be a case where it's just like, you know what? I'm done here.
Oh, another Dora drawn. Now Michael's got double South, Dora 2, and that's a hand worth fighting for, even against 4th place, who's dealer. Okay, maybe not worth fighting for. Not unwilling to discard this 5-pin. I think the 4-so was Nakasuji. Could have at least hedged that. And maybe finding another route. Now would like to redraw that 6-pin. And we see Andrew kind of folding out here. The 9-pin comes out. And another 9-pin likely. Finds the safer, well, not safer, but perhaps more dangerous 7-so to discard first. Dangerous against the rest of the table.
Against the rest, because dealer already discarded it.
Right. So. Ooh, that 6-pin isn't as helpful as you want it to be. Still, it's Genbutsu versus a Nakasuji 4-so that's thrice cut. Yeah, that's pretty
There's a wall. There's a 4's a Dora indicator, so it's completely walled off.
Again, 7, not the tie you're looking for. Of course, Michael might want to hold on to that Genbutsu 6-so for the last discard. Finds Tempai at the last moment. And so the Tempai payments will be split. Anya grabbing 1,500. Michael grabbing 1,500 as well. Ricci stick in the pot for Homba. Dealership continues. East is the Dora. Dealer has 1 of those. And a lot of pin tiles. The shapes are awkward, though. To the right, a lot of inner tiles. Maybe this turns into a Tanyao. Chance for Ipeko. Chance for just the Tanyao there as well.
Andrew's got a hand that shuts this down. Like,
yeah, on the left, you can just call the Souths.
If you wanted to go for maximum value, you keep the East for your Tonki.
Right? I mean, I could see that happening.
Because there's no pair. He has no pair, right? So
it's so much more efficient to discard it, but oh, that's a nice call too.
Not yet.
I mean, it's so efficient right now. Thinking, do you need the value? No, you don't need the value. Okay. And yeah, the reason this is so nice is because there's so many pairs that give you great tempis. Pretty much every pair up gives you a perfect tempi except for the 6 so. And you could see that.
But now you're on a Tonki
into
weight.
a Tonki weight, but yeah, passes that up.
It ruins everything.
And there we go. There's the 369. Unfortunately, 2 of the 9 so got cut directly before, but it's still a very nice way.
No, it's perfect because it's just like I just discarded 2 of them. This one should be fine, right? What do you mean this is wrong? Why didn't you roll on the other 2?
Well, it looks like the A1 match is about to start. This game has been so exciting.
Yeah, they're apparently they've been going live in 38 seconds, so I don't.
Well, let's do it. We did say that we were only going to step in here for a little bit, and we got to see some exciting play. It looks like Andrew's going to be able to pull this out in the end.
Actually, I want to leave now because if Michael somehow wins after we leave, I will really apologize for cutting in on his game.
So we're going to leave. Michael's going to go on an absolute dealer tear, and then we'll update you with the results once we hear about it. But yeah, in a second we'll switch over to the A1 matchup, and it's a really exciting table. A lot of the A1 players who end up near the top of the division very consistently are going to be playing in this one, and should be a fun one. I believe they'll be playing 2 Hanchan.
Again, apologies to Michael. Sorry for ruining your lead right when we jumped in.
It's not necessarily ruined yet. It's South 2. Michael's got plenty of time to come back. Yeah, it's so nice that we can have so many options to choose from on a Mahjong Wednesday night. And it's been pretty consistently that way throughout the season. Just always a selection of matches. And almost too many matches to decide.
We had days in which there's been like 6 games going on.
At one time, yeah.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to stream during those times, but
yeah, really happy to get a stream off tonight. And looks like we're into things. East 1 has just begun. Jeremy Ichiban will be our dealer. To the right, Steve is Zelkin. Across the table, Korak is Korak, also known as Arthur sometimes. And TechBro on the left is Minko. Minko currently leading the group in 6th place in the standings in A1, and has been doing quite well in A1 ever since joining last season. And we see a bit of a spread throughout the standings here. East 1 looks like the players are all trying to push forward fairly quickly, just to pass the dealership along. The door is the East, and that's already been cut twice, so not really some expensive threats here for the open hands. Steve to the right, 2 calls already. You might think he's Tempai, but actually not even Ishanten.
Yeah, Minko's hand looked actually pretty good and manages to find his Tempai, declares Ricci. The more expensive side will give him his Ipeco, so...
Got 2 5-pin weight there for Ricci, Pinfu, potentially Ipeco.
Oh, there's a 5-pin draw, though, into Jeremy's hand.
Jeremy, as dealer, might have an inkling to push this, but the shapes are so awkward, it looks like he's going to find a route to fold. Steve as well doing the same.
I'm pretty sure that like if he can find a way to Tenpai, great, but I don't think they're going to push it.
Yeah, I mean that 6 though is so tempting. Now you are. Well, it could have been Ishanten. There's the route actually. You drop the 3, so you drop the Suji.
You could have dropped the 3-pin.
Yeah, Suji 3-pin. There was a route to Tenpai, but opting to play full defense, perhaps because there's 2 open hands here, and not reading that those hands are folding.
And the Easts are discarded, so it's not like as if there's Dora on the table, right?
Yeah, so it looks like it will be a matter of can Minko sumo here, or will the other players run out of safe tiles because no one else seems to be pushing at this point.
Yep.
There's only 1 2-pin and 1
I would say a far cry from the B3 tables, I would say.
Yeah, B3. Peaceful aggression at all times. Almost all times. Oh, wow. Actually, Korak found the way into Tenpai. Finds the safe 4-so. And is waiting on the 4-pin. Can you maintain it? One more draw. Haite, 1 mon, safe. So we will have 2 players Tenpai. And of course, you expect that out of Korak, finding a way into Tenpai by the end of things. So very sort of quiet way to start this first hand out. Steve now dealer with, what is this? High Pie? Yanshanten with amazing weights.
If somehow the tiles fall the right way, there could be entertainments for like Tanya, Pinfu, Sanshoku.
Absolutely. Well, other players aren't too far behind. On the left, we see Jeremy with the Chun Anko already, and that hand is 2 away from Tenpai as well. Could even just call and grab the reach stick and home button, move the dealership forward again.
Here's a question for you. Like with Steve, with a possibility of a 2-3-4 Sanshoku, somehow he paired up somewhere. Would you have discarded that Hatsu sooner if you think that maybe whatever tile you kept could also just pair up randomly? Because I mean,
that's interesting.
If you get the second Hatsu, like, what are you going to do with it? You're going to call for your Yakuhai? I'm guessing not, right?
Right. I mean, I assume you just throw it back, in fact, because you want the Tanyo.
So if that's the case, then any random, 2 through 8 tile, you could easily just pair up, and the next thing you know, you're really free for the Sanshoku, right?
Right. Although 3, 4, 5 Sanshoku is a definite possibility as well. Oh, let's hold that thought. Jeremy finds Tenpai, did not need to call for it, declares Ricci on 3 6-pin for Ricci Chun. Now the Dora is the West. We haven't seen any of those discarded. There are actually 2 in the hand across the table, and that hand is 2 away from Tenpai.
And here's the thing. Yes, there are 3 of the 3 and 6 pins discarded, but it also means that for some reason those players didn't need it.
Yeah, and Steve's going to chase this. Dealer, Ricci, Pinhu, Tanyao, no Sanshoku here. 2-5 weight.
The Monzu still look a little dangerous to Steve, but if you're... I'm trying to think if there's a way for you to like consider discarding like a 5 mon for any reason, and I'm not sure. I don't think you could still justify that against Steve even with a 4, 6, 7. Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Oh my, Korak's hand. I haven't looked at this, but I just realized there are 3 Anko already set. The problem is there's a Dora and there's a deal in 6-pin.
Well, can you even discard this 5-so?
Yeah, it's so awkward. It's safe against 1 reach, and
he's done.
Bails out. And there's the West. There's the Dora. So Minko grabs Dora 3, and now how are you going to fight against this? Yeah. Starts with the 3. Oh, there's a sumo.
Okay.
Let's shut it down. Ricci, sumo, Chun, and oh my goodness. That's how you get your sticks back. And Jeremy will claim first place here, moving into East 3. Ricci +1. All you have to do is sumo and find an Uda, and you've got a Mangan, and that's exactly what happened for Jeremy. Now, Korak here.
Otazuke here.
Oh yeah, we saw the call from Minko already grabbing the north. I wonder if Minko wants to turn this into a Honitsu even. Not just yet. And there's
But
the
West is
Haku.
fine because of the fact that there were already 2 discarded.
Yeah,
And
and
now
here we
you
go.
just 7 so discarded. So yeah, I think the West was just because like even if I pair it up, there's no in case I get 2 pairs, what I can't call that one, so it's a dead pair, right?
Yeah, it could end up being the pair in the hand, but unlikely. And now sits Ishanten for Honitsu, potentially Dora 1. Guess it will be Dora 1 because you need that. You
Well,
need that
Yakuhai
7 pin.
Honitsu Dora 1, it's a Mangan.
Oh, we see a Ricci though. Jeremy fighting again. The 3-sided
369.
rate. And this is a Ricci Pinfu Dora 1.
He can drop Pinzu here, except for maybe Minko because he has no choice.
Yeah. Literally no choice at this point. You draw one more pin tile, you're guaranteed to have to discard one. So many of those winning tiles being held though.
I just don't see a scenario where the other 2 players discard any Pinzu at all. Full stop.
Yeah, it's so just Sumo, and Jeremy does it again. Ricci, Sumo, Pinhu, Dora. Can we find a Nura?
We
Why
find
not? Why not 2? All right. Let's go.
You didn't find one. You didn't find one.
So Jeremy, who was in last place in the division coming into this game, all of a sudden making an absolute climb. Now with 50,000 points in this game, making a push, making a bid to move away from that demotion zone.
A Dora pair. Yakuhai Dora pair.
Across the table, that's in Steve's hand. And beware. Oh, there's actually one at the right as well. So Jeremy and Steve Mochi there. Who's going to win this battle? It's one of those hands where you might be tempted to go Otozuke for, but
the win for this might be Minko with the Yakuhai Honitsu.
Absolutely. All those Mon tiles. So much action happening right now. It's going to be a race. Oh, there's a 7. That doesn't... Oh, that kind of helps. So you're looking for the 8 Mon now, and then choosing to discard the West.
It's very interesting. Now, I can see scenarios in which you can possibly tease out a tile, but if people know you're going Honitsu, I just can't imagine, somebody just, like, for instance, you pawn the 2, you wait on the 1. Even still, I can't imagine anybody here, like, even bothering to discard, like, the 1 Mon if that ended up being your final wait. So, not sure what the only other reason why I would consider that making this call is basically a bluff. In that you're telling people I'm Tenpai, and everybody's like, "Oh shoot, they're Tenpai already. I can't continue pushing into this."
Okay, well now pairing some tiles up, and this might get a little bit awkward for Steve, who has
and now it's like overflow, right? It's like
right.
Not only did you call and people think you're Tenpai, but now you're overflowing with a Manzu tile, and it's like, well, now surely they have to be Tenpai.
Well, folks in A1 seem to have success pushing against my Honitsus, so there's not guarantee that the bluff will work. We see, again, Steve, I'm worried that he'll run out of save tiles and be forced to discard one of these Mon tiles into this Honitsu. Oh, this Tenpai. That's a Suju Trap Tenpai if you choose to take it. Of course, Suji, in this scenario, it doesn't work as nicely because there are question marks. Where are all the 1 Mon?
I mean, just where are the Manzu, period? I mean,
right?
There's only been 3 Manzu discarded. 4.
4, yeah. Well called.
4.
Everyone holding on to them.
Now, given they are the 1 and the 9 Mon, so if somebody's like, if I have to discard something, it'll be that. But never mind, let's just draw it.
And the 26 all will be 7,800 for Minko. That puts another player above 30,000 at least. And oh my goodness, this high pie is great too. Tanya also, at the very least.
At least no, and he's like, and everybody's like, yeah, he was Tenpai the whole time. No, but you don't know that.
Right. To the right, we've got a nice pickup there. That hand is looking all right too. Can call the Hatsu, and Jeremy is probably quite willing to cheapen this hand for even 1,000 or 2,000 just to stop Minko from building another hand.
Okay, so you know that game that we left? I have to look back at the records, but the chat is saying there was a Honitsu Sananko Baimon after we left. If that is Michael, if he's hearing me right now, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
We knew that. We called it, though. We said it was going to happen, that we would leave the game and something absolutely ridiculous was going to happen.
I'm actually going to go through here.
Michael dealt into Anya.
No, it's actually worse.
Oh, no.
Michael dealt into Anya.
And then Anya won a Mangan to finish it in first place. What? If we get the chance, we're going to have to go watch a replay of that because apparently it was ridiculous.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Sorry, Michael. There's so many sorries on any account here.
Lesson learned. We can't let Edwin commentate Michael's games. All right. Jeremy calls into Tenpai here for just the 1,000 points. 4-7 pin is the weight. Unbeknownst to him, the 4-7 is actually kind of weak. Only one tile of each remain in the wall. And Minko just hasn't been able to pull together a Tenpai here. Still, Dianchan Ten. Around the rest of the table, not particularly thrilling either. Toyman, Steve might be thinking about a 1-2-3 Sanshoku. And to the left.
For Minko, though, that regardless of if he decides to push for it, he's probably not dealing in, so he can continue to go on with their hand.
Right. The only worry is if you draw that 4-pin, but that's unlikely given what we can see. And here we go. That's a pickup. Okay, Ishanten now. And at this point, you are willing to call for open Tanyo.
Mm-hmm.
Just Korak hasn't dropped anything useful to you.
Well, no pins are being discarded on that side because they're all being held. Oh, there's a 5-pin. Never mind.
So no Sanshoku here, but Ricci, Tanyao, and now Jeremy. Oh, that 1-pin is so bad, but he's got to push it. At least there's 3 2-pin visible, so it's one chance. But discarding Dora next to the Ricci tile is so scary.
There are 2 6-sos and 2 7-sos discarded. Now that's not a full wall, but like if you hold an 8-so and you got nothing better, I mean, you're looking at that going, maybe I don't have a choice.
Yeah, Jeremy in such trouble. Like, there's nothing to do but push. And there's the 8-so.
And you see the 6s and 7s, and you're like, I guess this is fine, but it's not.
Like, you can buy 1 turn with a 5-pin Nakasuji, but that's 1 turn. You probably have a better chance of just sumo. And the 7-pin, the wall of 7 pins reveals, like, that's why I wasn't winning my hand. Minko picks up 3,900 with the Ricci Tanyao. Will continue the dealership, and that's actually that direct hit on Jeremy puts Minko within striking range to claim first place
this
here.
Hand though, because there is some disjointment to their tiles, but could still draw well and solve it really quickly. But again, we'll probably need a little bit of time.
No, really super speedy here. Jeremy looks like his hand will need to be closed, and that has some awkward shapes. Across the table, Steve has 2 uncles. That's quite interesting. So actually, this is 2 away from Tenpai. There's a door in there too. Oh, the 3-pin is a nice pickup for Jeremy. That helps a lot, actually. So this hand is Ishanten. Awkward shapes, but with early Ricci Dora 1, that might be totally fine. There's worlds where Jeremy could even build into a 2-3-4 Sanshoku, or even a Junchan here if you can draw another 1-pin. Oh, I guess that 1-pin's not happening, but
Minko's getting some tiles here. The only question will be, if they're going for it in terms of like making it a callable hand, the 7-8 Sozu is going to present some problems. Possibly if that ended up being their final weight, should they call.
We can see it's particularly troublesome from our perspective because there are 3 6-0 across the table.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting choice here. You have the 6-7, 7-8 shape. You could toss one of your Kantan shapes to retain the potential for Ipeco or just having 2 Yamen shapes, but Steve thinks that holding on to these pin shapes will be better in the long run.
And Minko filling in another shape here and was going to commit to the 6-9, gets it.
Well, just draw it yourself. Tenpai, Riichi, Pinhu.
We'll probably need to draw it himself, considering there's, again, the 3 6s across the table, and one of the 9-sos stuck in Jeremy's hand. Oh, never mind! What did I say? What did I say? What did I say?
Pinhu set another 7,800 going Minko's way. He's claimed first place. Well, they've claimed a 4,000 point lead, 4,600. Everyone does it again.
Oh my god.
I'm thinking Honitsu until that 7 is drawn. So maybe we'll put that thought on hold. Has the double East, has a Dora, so you don't need to commit to the Honitsu for value, but, a Mongon sounds nice. Not that you've been having any trouble.
You're on a roll at this point. Yeah, right? I mean, why not, right? This would be like one of those momentum things where it's like, if you're going to give me the tiles for this Honitsu and I've won these hands already, then okay.
It is awkward that you need a 7 and a 3. Penchon. It's a little tricky here. And Jeremy opening up with a Hatsu. Again, just a lone Dora in hand. Not a lot of value here unless you can pair that up. And shape's awkward as well, but desperate to end this dealership.
So here's the thing. I was going to say, well, you could just draw it yourself. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like for some reason, my mind was like, that's kind of tropey. I don't know if that's going to work this time around. So for some reason, I had the feeling that I'm not actually sure this Honitsu is going to finish.
Oh, there's a 7. There's a 7. And it doesn't have to be Honitsu. We could just go for Itsu here if you draw the 3-mon. And you'll find Tenpai on the 6-pin. Oh, wouldn't you love to have the Haku instead of the 5-7 pin here?
Yeah.
But it's understandable to not necessarily commit. And there's the con. Oh, it draws into the 5-mon. So this is Ishan 10 for Steve. Yamen, Ishan 10. Revealed the 4-pin to be Dora. And so that increases the value of the hand a little bit.
Minko's committing 100%.
Yeah, just 3-mon and then a 3-6. And there's the East, so that even increases the number of tiles that will give Tenpai.
And this could also be used as a possible, I don't know if it's necessarily used as a bluff, but like, it's at least you haven't called a Monzu yet, so it's like, well, it may not be that.
So interesting play here. Jeremy discarded Dora. Korak will snap that up and go for Chinitsu Dora 3. That means Korak's not discarding into this Honitsu until he gets Tenpai himself.
Which means that everybody else has time to catch up in theory, and there you go. But it's on a Monzu wait.
Steve has no fear, is saying, I'm the player who's going to declare Riichi. I have the best chance of winning here.
Except that the 6-pin is going to
It's Jeremy.
No!
Yet refusing to discard into the Patsu turn. Korak says, I've got to save 7. Now you have to, right? Surely. Yeah. And that will deal into a very cheap hand.
1,000 point hand. And guess what? Minko didn't complete his Honitsu. I was gonna do the trophy rule. He could just draw it himself, but I actually didn't think he was gonna make it, and he didn't. Yay! I called another thing. Although probably that's less impressive than actually calling a tile.
I mean, Jeremy, you got something back, right? You've collected all those Riichi sticks too. You're in
the lead. You're in the lead.
So that was actually more important than just 1,000 points. And now Steve making a little bit of a play. Has the double south. We know how much Steve likes that. In a battle to get out of 4th place here. And I wonder if you can turn this into a toy as well. We can see retaining the Northwind, even though that's not typically a hand that you incorporate in.
That Minko just got to Tenpai. It is on the 7-pin, though.
Once cut 7-pin is a little awkward. It's Riichi Nomi as well.
It's a little awkward, but people have been discarding the 8 and 9
Steve
pins.
Steve is drawing insane, holding the 6-pin and the double south.
So the 7 so would be a double roan, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 7-pin double roan. Of course, you'd have to get that to come out of Jeremy or Korak. Jeremy, Ishan-ten here.
Yikes! Yikes!
Riichi Tsumo and but that'll be enough to reclaim the lead.
Who cares?
Yeah. We move to Steve's dealership. This is super tense at the top and even at the bottom as well. Running out of time to make it over the hump. That being Korak's 17.5. All right, Dora's the tune. One just picked up from Jeremy on the left. None of the other tune are visible. And actually, Jeremy doesn't want it. Just throws it right back.
I mean, it doesn't fit. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be
you
nice to
could
get
drop
another one, but
the
I suppose you could have
West
dropped the West
first,
beforehand.
and even the one mon. Hope you pair it up. But now Korak pulls in the tune and says, I'll hold on to this a little bit longer. Again, it has tiles to discard. Dealer making some progress.
Not
That's
bad
a pair
3-mon
drawn.
discard from Steve, because that is a pair.
Yeah, so this is actually 2 away from Tempai, although you've got a couple Kanchans to fill.
Another pair for Jeremy.
Oh, this is another great pickup for Steve. So this is starting to come together now. Another pair for Korak. 4 now. Oh, that's an Onko for Jeremy. So maybe we will not be ending up the pairs route. But choosing to discard away from...
because there was always the Ipeco chance as well. So
yeah, interesting though. It chooses to discard away from the Ipeco here. Values holding on to the 2-pin or a 3-pin. And immediately draws another pair.
I mean, what are they? They're only like a tile or 2 away from turning this into a Tanya and even getting some extra value out of this.
Sure. Speaking of Tanya, we see Minko across the table making the call.
Well, now they can really flex because this is Ishan 10 for Tanya Chitoy. Yeah, the 4 so wouldn't be necessary in that.
I even pulled back Chitoy chance. And of course, you could just clear a Ricci should you draw into an Onko or draw the 4-pin or 1-pin. You even have a Yamen wait.
Okay, now going for the Yamen wait, which was an option. All the ones are gone.
Yeah, so Jeremy knew about that when declaring the Ricci, but is desperate enough to make that play anyway. You need the 4-pin. We can actually see all the 4-pin in hand. And this isn't slowing Minko down. Minko's willing to fight against this, even from Ishan 10.
That's the thing, though. It's like you're waiting on the 4-pin. It's a central tile. You haven't discarded Pinzu. Like, you're expecting them to draw it yourself. And like I said, in the meantime, if you're not going to win it, that you're just giving everybody else just has time.
Well, that's if everyone else doesn't care about your Ricci.
Korak didn't call that. I thought he might. I guess because he's figured he had to discard Pinzu, it might have been something that he just wasn't sure about, etc. So, yeah, I don't think he was going to touch discarding Pinzu anyways.
Yeah, Korak can still fight for Chitoy here.
Especially since the tune is safe.
And yeah, I think Jeremy's probably hoping that everyone folds and he can grab 3,000. But Steve is hard pressed to fold.
Actually, Korak could possibly discard the Haku and get to some type of like Tanya Tempai.
Yeah, now drawing is that Onko. If you can make a call for Tanya, perhaps he'll even go for that. Oh, here goes the Haku.
Yeah, that's done. Yeah.
All right, only 2 tiles remaining.
Because Steve is Tempai, waiting for the 4-7 as well, 4-7 so, and Korak had drawn the 7 so was just like, no, I don't really need to bother with this.
So with that Ricci, Jeremy loses 1,000 points. It's sitting in the middle of the table, but did pick up 500, a net 500 from the Tempai payments, and actually make up 1,500 on Minko as well. So still behind, but only by that Ricci stick amount. Less than that Ricci stick amount, 800 points. So and
Korak being, actually no, because Steve was, wait.
Yeah, Steve got Tempai.
They were both Tempai, never mind. Yeah.
And we might see an early Ricci here. Steve already Ishan 10. Of course, Korak's got a pretty nice start himself. Probably
Going
wants-
backwards, yeah. Thinking that maybe since the 7's around the 8, I could somehow turn this into a pin food chance as well.
Of course, the backfire would be drawing the 2 mon, but so far so good. You've broken that shape completely. You've got very nice shapes elsewhere. Oh, this
So
is
you're
the
getting a little
Doha.
concerned because you're looking to your left and it's like, what
Yeah,
is
what's
that?
going on over there?
I mean, you could technically call. Yeah. Wait.
Oh, going for
What?
it. Oh,
That's
so
go-
Steve
so
wants Chinitsu here.
I
How's the
was like,
box for it?
I was just like, you just pull the 2 pin, right? And just go for your Tempai. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, if you believe the opponent to the left is going for some type of Junchan or Yakuhai or something Chanta, then they might end up having to discard the middle pin tiles, and you can just snap those right up.
Except the tiles he called were in middle.
It turns out that the Junchan had no need for the lower pin tiles. And maybe that's the reason, you snap the first one up. All right, if you don't want the 2 pin, maybe you don't want the 1 pin or the 3 pin. And that was exactly the case. I hand it across the table, though. Drawing into Ishanten here. A better Ishanten. Willing to discard the 1 pin pair.
Figuring that there's no way Steve could also be winning on a 1 pin right now.
Well, Steve could use a 1 pin right now. Unfortunately, it wasn't Jeremy who drew it. Oh, but we see a Regi from Korak and immediately called.
Okay, so 7. Okay, so that's a safe one right now, but that 7 mon in Jeremy's hand.
Oh,
Now you're
continues to draw bad tiles. That 2 is safe because it's only Sanchoku for Minko.
Right.
3, 4, 5. Can only win on the 5 mon. For Sanchoku draw 2. And it's a 4-7 mon wait for Korak.
And the 7 pin wait for Steve.
And Minko's safe on a door draw. You can just drop the 9, so still maintain a Tempai that can win. There are 2 5 mon left in the wall. Oh, there's one of them. That will pass. The 2 mon will pass. And we find Yukioku. What a battle. Bangan versus 3 Han Han versus Arichi.
And a Yakuhai for Steve here, and looks like a really fast hand for Yakuhai Dora 1.
Yeah, with the sticks in the middle, that's so valuable. And actually, Korak and Steve are tied now. Well, Korak drawing into the Yakuhai South after 1 was discarded. Perhaps a fighting chance in this one across the table. Minko could even push for a Tanyao. Jeremy on the left. Perhaps the weakest hand here. Would need to fill in some Kanchan and Penchan shapes in order to have a fighting chance.
Now that's interesting discard for me for Steve discarding the 3 mon, because you could have had some type of like Itsu opportunity or something like that. How much did the 9-so really be useful in their hand at that point? Not that it mattered, but
yeah, I think it's treating it as a 9-8-7 shape and a 6-5-5 shape. In that case, the 3 is a little less useful, especially when you plan on calling the Easts. And here we go, Tempai. 4-so is the weight. Of course, I'd love to improve this to something else, but for the time being, East Dora 2, totally acceptable.
58, yeah.
58 plus.
No,
26.
64.
Yeah.
64 plus and 84.
Is there enough food for that? I don't think so. But there are 2,600 in the middle. Oh, will we see a switch to the 2-so? No, sticks with the 4-so weight. You can upgrade on the 6-so draw. Chue Yamen. You could even switch to a Tonki if you wanted. Of course, Korak here sitting Ishanten. Wants to be able to fight for this. Has a door in hand. But the ideal draw of the 8. So it's just not coming his way. There's the last South. Decision Time chooses to flex this Yankan shape around the Dora. Just a clever play. The only real punishment is if you draw another Dora, but are you really that upset? All right, here we go. 6 so drawn, upgrade found. Steve now waiting 4-7. Funny to see the 3 so come out.
Oh, there's the 4 though from the Ricci.
The Ricci. 5,800 found.
That puts Jeremy in first. That puts Jeremy in first.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big hit. And
Steve, what is this? What is this?
No, Ishan 10 on the first. I feel like it's always Steve who gets this. I think you just call this, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ishan 10, now you're headless.
That's fine. I mean, you call the 2-5, so you discard the 8, wait on the 9. Like who's expecting you to wait on the 9?
Right. 7's kind of awkward almost. You don't need that nice Yanmen shape. You've got all the sequence shapes you want. You really want a pair here. So that's actually more efficient to just throw that 7 back as Steve did. Korak trying to fight back. Now that Steve has won that hand, really needs to put something together. Completes another sequence and is technically Ishan 10, but it's got no value. So I imagine he's trying to turn this into a Tanyao. Yeah.
Terrible weight.
Dora's the South. We see a pair of those in Jeremy's hand. Would absolutely love to see a South be discarded. So
you'd love to see a North be discarded.
Oh yeah, even better. Well, you like both, right? Here's the South, so that's Dora 3.
I mean, you're gonna take it, but if you could have disguised it, it'd be better.
Right. Yeah. It retains the floaters in the Manzu and the Pinzu, and technically could still accept the North.
Although that doesn't really help for the value of the hand.
Right. You've already got a Mongon as it is.
Because you're not really adding Toy at all to this. So
here we go. The 8-pin discarded. So now lots of Ponap.
Now waiting for the 9-pin, like I said.
Yeah, and actually all 3 of the remaining 9-pin are in the wall. Jeremy can't use it. No one can really use it.
But that's the point. That's the point I'm waiting on it, because who's gonna?
Of course.
It's just a setup. It's just a setup. There are 3 8-pins discarded. 9 is certainly fine now.
Right.
Let's add some style points, right? Maybe.
So here, Korak finds Tempai, but chooses not to declare the Ricci. Wants more value out of this. Wants the Peiko. Wants Tanyao. Wants it all.
Steve could switch to the 2-5, but I don't know. I think I still would have taken the 9.
Well, we can see that the 9 is probably the better weight here, as 3 of, well, I guess it depends on what happens to Jeremy's hand. Jeremy might end up discarding the 5, so depending on what happens.
I would have kept the 9-pin.
9-pin is such a sneaky weight. The other thing, though, is if you could see all the 8-pin and none of the 9-pin are discarded, you're wondering, well, where are they? Maybe someone's got an Anko. Oh, there's the 9-pin.
Now, here was something interesting. Like, this is going to pay in, so it does pay off for Steve. But the turn before, Jeremy had drawn the 5-pin, technically giving him another pair. He could have theoretically been greedy and discarded the 4-so, because it's still roughly the same, I think. And yet been able to call for a Toy instead. Now, he still would have dealt the 2-so and it wouldn't have mattered, but that was just something I was thinking about when he had drawn the 5-pin. It's like, well, there's an opportunity for a Toy here if they wanted it.
And yet, here we are, Steve climbing from 4th place all the way to 3rd and approaching 2nd.
Well, exactly. Like, Ninko has the lead. Jeremy's like, well, now I've lost the lead. But beyond that, Steve is a Mongon Sumo away from being in first.
But Jeremy's hand looks ridiculous, though. Already Ishan 10. But yeah, Steve actually with a very nice hand himself pairs up the Dora. Oh, what are these draws? That's actually a little bit painful to see, given that you just discarded the 8-mon. But
yeah,
it's a little understandable. Jeremy wanted.
What does Korak have over there?
Well, maybe we'll see a Honitsu Itsu. Dora Haku, something along those lines. These hands, they're all absurd. Oh, here's the Tenpai. Jeremy will take the Ricci. Ricci Tanyao Pinfu. Potential Dora as well. And Steve will break the Ipatsu. We'll need to find Tanyao here.
Calling that, yeah, you're calling that, Korak. You're pushing this. I was like, there's no way he's not.
Lineal drama, that's totally fine. You can discard the Tuso here. The only hesitation is, do you want to drop the Tuso into whatever Korak's building? And it's early enough that Steve is willing to do so. Oh, one so drawn. So the 2-pin will leave.
Actually, I think Korak's not a danger anymore. Because if he gets the 4 or 7 so, he's calling, discarding Haku, going for the Itsu, wouldn't he?
Yeah, so that would be Itsu Honitsu Chun for a Mangan.
I mean, it still would have been a Mangan anyways if it was double Yakuhai Honitsu. The only way they get Korak gets tripped up is if he pairs the 6 or the 9 so.
Oh, the 2 is going to deal into the last player you'd expect. Minko would found a Tanyao Tenpai. And yeah, out of all of that, Minko now the clear leader here. Previously, they had been trading positions by losing points, but now Minko claims a win, extends the lead a little bit, finally ends Steve's dealership run. Steve just shy of the 30,000 mark, and now it's Korak's turn. Now you have to go on a run. And this is not a bad high pie. You can call the tune early on.
It's like it'll be a 1,500 point hand unless he manages to get Nora.
Yeah, you might even see him pass up the first tune call, because the shapes aren't bad. Now, double Yankan is a little awkward. Yeah, it doesn't even want that.
Yeah, because if you drop the 6 mon, then you're giving up on Dora completely. Well, not completely, but it's going to make it really
tough, yeah. And there's a Dora draw. Still tough choices here. Could drop Chun Chun and aim for a Tanyao.
But with so many like Rankan or Kanchan weights, it's just, I don't think it's worth it. You just need a lot of help.
Well, there's a draw. Now, on the other hand, we see some very exciting hands around the table to the right. That looks like a Honitsu building, especially after discarding the 1-pin pair. Across the table, that's a lot of Mon tiles, and even more drawn. And of course, Mon is the Dora suit. So Jeremy might be building a comeback hand.
I mean, there's only one person that's discarded any Monzu so far in the first row. And that 6 pins gotta hurt.
Oh,
there's your Tenpai.
What a fill. Grabs that Kanchan. Forget Honitsu. Let's take the Ricci Dora 1.
Only one Tuso left, though. Everything else is in people's hands.
Discards also lend themselves to potentially a so wait, although you don't know that much about the Monzu either. Oh, Siege Trap found.
I mean, Korak's pushing, and I can't imagine him. What would he? I mean, he could even drop. I mean, if anything, he could even drop Dora because the 4/6 is the weakest. If he needed to.
Now it's Dora's Suji trapped, but of course, Suji trap Dora, Naka Suji trap Dora isn't always.
Jeremy is trying to figure out if that 7 mon helped him in any way, and then it didn't really. Speaking of 7 mon, that's what Korak draws.
And decides to discard that dangerous So tile, so full sense.
Steve committing to the Chinitsu.
Oh my goodness. So recognizing. Oh, there's a tune. This is Tenpai if you drop. Tenpai on the door, rather.
Honky.
Oh, that 9 is interesting too. This might be. This is not quite. This is hard to read. That's what it is. I was trying to find the Kanchan weight, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah, like Korak's trying to figure out what he can push here, and wait, Honitsu Chitoi
On the door as
on the
well.
door.
And Korak's just got to push for it. Where are the door? There is one in the wall. Who's going to get it? I mean, if Minko draws it, what a tragedy that would be. Double Roan after being the first Ricci. Only 3 tiles remain.
Oh my gosh. It is. Oh.
Like, Korak can never drop the door here, so whatever he draws, he's got to push. 2-mon, push. Or bail, but yeah, it just pushes it.
No...
Oh, 2-mon is Hote!
Oh!
Ricci, Hote, Dora 1. Oh my goodness, that's a brutal way to lose.
And now Jeremy's in third now. Minko is the only one above 30.
Wow.
And if Korak, well, no, that's not enough. What is it? 20, 36, 4?
10-4.
Oh, almost. If Korak, it was almost the situation where if Korak somehow won a Mongon off of Steve, it could have been a reversal from 4th to 2nd, but it's not quite. Jeremy has enough of an edge. Minko, though, is like, I'm not stopping here.
I mean, why would you? You're on a roll at this point. Pick up another sweet 2,900.
Yeah.
And for Steve, also has some incentive to just win a fast 1,000 point hand. So Jeremy choosing to call. I wonder if this is another Chinitsu play or if it's I'm going to grab Tanya and confirm my third. Looks like Chinitsu. And Korak has a chance at a Mongon. He's going to go for it, of course.
It's going to have to be a direct hit, though. That's the thing.
But if Jeremy is going for Chinitsu, might not have a lot of safety to play with.
That's got to be a call, yeah.
Okay, you can drop one of your pairs, or you can. There goes the one.
You drop the pairs.
Now,
actually, I don't know because like
Wotso looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, I might consider actually dropping the 5-6 pin because again, it's a 4-7 that you're waiting for. If that ends up as your final weight.
Oh, this works too. So now you're waiting for 7.
But it is the 4-7 weight, but like it's a middle weight, right? So
but you have 2 drawing pools. If you believe Jeremy is going for Chinitsu, then you know he'll drop any pin tiles.
Sure. And he will run into trouble if he at that point. Yeah. There it goes.
So more value picked up, and now we get really interesting. Now
if Korak gets a Mongon win off of Steve, that is a second place.
It is, yeah. Yeah, Korak really wanted to finish that hand with a victory, but if you're not going to finish the hand, then this is a fine result too.
If only his starting hand was a little better.
Yeah, you'd love to have Jeremy's starting hand, for example. Door pair, double salve. No matter what, you're getting a Mongon. Oh no, and that is like the worst possible call for Korak.
Consider Honitsu too. Double salve, Honitsu, Dora 2. Possibly 3.
I mean, hitting a Hanuman off of Minko, is that enough?
No, that's a 27,800 point gap.
Oh, what is this?
Never mind, because Minko is now Tenpai, but it's on just the 7 pin.
You just push, right? If you're Jeremy, you have no fear.
I would assume so.
Korak holding onto that Dora. And there's Tenpai, 1 pin doorway. Oh, there's the Dora draw immediately after making the call. But the one pin is Tsuji.
So now they're down to they're down to one last 1 pin.
But it might even just come out of Steve's hand.
There's a 7 pin drawn across. There's only 2 7 pins left. So 2 versus 1 right now.
Just there it is. Yeah. And that's going to change position. They'll put Jeremy above 30,000 again. It does not drop Steve below Korak though. So after a wild set of hands, Minko will retain the first place with plus 35.3. Jeremy
rockets up to 3rd place overall.
Yeah, climbs into 2nd with that final hand victory with plus 7.8. So that's progress. That's good. Steve, the negative 14.4, is a small penalty to playing safe against the dealer. And then Korak, the negative 29.0, fourth place, had a lot of opportunities in that last hand, just could not find the winning tile to put it away and pull into third place. So after all is said and done, as you said, Minko climbing again. And we saw this last season too. Minko was fairly high up in the standings. In fact, was leading, I believe, in around week 5, session 5. And once again on the climb. Luce in first place currently. Zilong also up there as well. Will be quite a battle at the top of A1. It's a battle everywhere in A1, but the battle for first place overall is always a tight one.
We have a message here from our resident. I don't know if you call it bot. Just all around make things really really smooth. Aaron Light. I don't know how you describe it. He just makes things work.
He does. He really plays a huge role in this league even being functional. So huge props. And what is that message?
The message was that Jeremy Sumo at East 2-1 was the 4,000th Mongon in our league.
Nice. In less than a year, we've had
4,000 Mongons.
4,000 Mongons. That's kind of crazy to think about, but with the amount of growth that this league has seen, it's actually, I guess, not that surprising. Especially for Akanashi, right? We don't have red 5s, and yet everyone is able to build their hand to limit
Chief
hands,
Technology Officer. Yeah, that works.
The
Thank
CTO.
you, Chad. CTO. That works. Chief Technology Officer.
Well, what a wild game that was. And Korak will start off first dealer in this one. It was interesting, just the way the lead changed first place to second place over and over again at the end before Minko was able to pull away. And Minko has a bit of an aggressive streak, right? There were some hands where, it was Mongon versus Ricci, and then Minko would win with Tanyao, like Tanyao Nomi, and steal all the Ricci sticks. And it ended up being a huge swing. Like, that's the reason that Minko managed to pull ahead, was not only just grabbing the Ricci sticks and claiming a few thousand points here and there, but preventing the other massive hands from winning, not being afraid to push your hand when you've got a good weight, even against a scary Ricci or an open Chinitsu. And yeah,
but looking at their stats, looking at Minko's stats though, it's like there's nothing really that stands out that much other than maybe the winning average hand. But other than that, I mean, it's not like he's a call heavy. It's not like they're Ricci heavy or anything like that. It looks rather standard.
Yeah, Luce and Minko both at the top of the standings, 1 and 3, and with some very consistent play, I would say. And here we go into game number 2. Dealer starts off with a single Dora, and well, that's a nice fill of the 7. So outside of that, the shapes are awkward. Now the Dora pairs in Steve's hand, and if it ever leaves Korak, he will be more than happy to call that for an open Mongon.
But we'll still need some help otherwise. And they do have the 5, 6, 7, but everything else is a bit disjointed, although the 3 helps.
Yeah, the nice thing about this shape, even though the shapes aren't there, the tiles, the floating tiles, they're very good ones. They're high quality. They can, they're sticky in the sense that other tiles will attach themselves to make shapes quite easily. And wow, sticky, another great draw.
Sticky.
There's even Itsu chance here. We see the South come out first. And now Korak is starting to get to that point where you drop the Dora, and it does come out. There's the call from Steve. Now Ishan 10, looking for a head. No pair currently, but has that Mongon, the rest of the table on high alert.
Fine, call the 8, call and somehow get the 8 mon and wait on the 9, and you're like, okay.
Wonder if anybody can fight this across the table. It's very pretty if you can find Ipeko, Sanshoku, Tanyao, but you have to find it, right? some awkward shapes to fill in there. There's a head. So no more Sanchoku Dreams. We're just going to call for Tanyao if at all possible. On the left, that hand is Ishanten.
Well, I mean, you're just trying to cut this hand. You're trying to cut Steve's hand down quickly if you can. Either that or get the heck out of the way.
Well, there's the Ipeco drawn for Jeremy, so I'm sure he'd be willing to call and forego the Ipeco value, but there's a chance you could draw into Tempo yourself. And actually, the 7 pair is possible as well. That 3 so draws a nice pickup for Jeremy as well.
Well, actually, you have round Peiko possibilities, but if you draw the 3 so you're sad though because you'd be furry 10.
Here's where dealer is a little bit sad. Hasn't been able to pull the. Oh, there it is!
It's the perfect draw for the Ryan Peiko.
If you can drop the 6, and he does. All right, Dama, Tanyao, Ryan Peiko, waiting on Sanzo. There are 2. There's 1 left in the wall, 1 locked away in the Ricci hand, 1 discarded. So it's got to be the last Sanzo. And of course, the hand that's got Dora 3 is going to continue to fight.
Yeah.
Fortunately, unable to draw the 4 so. Can she into Tempai here? Which Tonki do you want? Chooses the 6. Oh no!
My God!
Not like this! And Jeremy drops it to retain the Tempai. The last 6 mod comes out first, and that'll be Steve.
He chooses right.
And this is the difference between a player like Steve and a player like me. I always get the wrong one. Well played. And so it will be a nice lead for Steve, who immediately calls the East right out of the bat. Double East, S dealer, and only 2 tiles away from Tempai, aiming to improve this lead even further. Can't even accept a Dora if it is drawn to the right. Oh, well, Ishanten now just holding on to the stickiest tiles possible, that being the 1 pin and the 6-0. Korak with a very nice hand as well. Sorry, that's Jeremy on the right, but forget that. We already have Tempai. 2 calls, 1 more draw, and it's a 5-8 so wait for 2,900 points. And it just feels like any moment Jeremy will be dropping that 8 so.
The only way he wouldn't is if somehow he could entertain a Sanshoku chance.
Or,
doesn't matter.
Or you're just sumo. That works too. So a very fast hand, picking up 3,000 for Steve. We go
has
again.
Has an Anko South, has a Dora.
I'm just waiting to see the Dora pair up. Tune pair to the right for Jeremy, and some So tiles as well. Oh, interesting
Minko
call.
Going Otozuke.
That's a little aggressive. It actually gives Steve
and gets
another Anko. And you could turn this into a Toy Toy, perhaps, if you are Binko. Well, there's the 3rd call.
Now, if you're anybody else, you're like, can I drop a Pinzu into that? Unbeknownst to anybody, Minko has 0 Pinzu in his hand.
Yeah, now, we did see the East come out before the 2 mon, so it makes the Honitsu a little less likely. And also, there's a Dora in that hand, too. We could see Toy Toy Haku Dora 2 or 3 even. Probably 2. I imagine Steve will be retaining this Dora till the end of time.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost like the 6 mon drop, except for the fact that you can call the 5 or draw the 5 and go into Dora Tonki Tempo.
Hadaka Tonki?
Yeah,
like just now.
Here we go. Dora Tonki.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, I can't discard certain tiles, but I certainly can't discard Dora.
It's so awkward. Like, how do you even defend against this? You know it's Toy Toy Haku, so it's at least 5,200. But if it's Dora, then it is Mongon, so
you just don't entertain it. I mean, you're just gonna let the Dora die in your hand if you can't use it.
And
only thing is, everybody could technically use it.
Jeremy, the most susceptible to discarding it. If you draw a 5, oh, what? Okay, Korak just doesn't care. We'll take this. Chi Toy says my weight's just as good as your weight. This is really dodges.
Actually, it's 1v1. This is 1v1. At least in the wall.
Jeremy. Apparently, that's sumo.
Oh, Rishi Sumo Tanya Chitoi.
We'll check the Ura. No Ura, but it's still a very nice Mangan. Yeah, Quark says, you've got Harakatanki? I basically got the same thing. Let's go. Quark pulls it out with the Tsumo. And we go to Jeremy's dealership. This is not bad. You've got reasonable inside shapes and a Dora that you can make use of. Ooh, pair of the Haku, though. So maybe we could even call and push this hand a little bit faster. To the right, Minko, Chansey Peiko in the upper Pinsu. Outside of that, you're probably just making a Pinfu or just a Ricci. Of course, you'd love to draw another Dora there. Really increase the value of your hand. Across the table, that's a lot of pairs. I'm seeing 3 of them. And we see a Haku discarded. Jeremy does make the call. So the hand value cheapened a little bit.
Jeremy has to make that call because Steve's already called on the left.
Yeah,
and
so pushing
you're in last place, so you gotta go. Even if the rest of your hand, it's like my pairs are awkward and everything. You just gotta keep on going.
Yeah, Steve Ishan 10 here, looking for a head.
That 6-pin or 6-mon discard's interesting. I'm wondering. I mean, there's still the possibility of a 3-4-5 Sanshoku, I guess. And if he managed to do it, it's possible the 7-pin would end up being your weight. So now you're Yakai Sanshoku Dora 2 in the most ideal world possible.
Yeah. I mean, if you draw the 6-pin, then you can just take your Tenpai. Okay. I thought we might see the 3-pin come out. Yeah, and end up on a Doratanki or... Oh, okay. Just draw Tenpai this way if you want to drop Dora, and he does. Now it's a terrible Tenpai because the 3-pin's dead, so only the 4-mon wins.
And that was a Ricci on the 5/8, so over on the right for
two save tiles, right? If you draw into something that looks bad, nope. It looks like he's got auto discard on, so almost. This is a really expensive hand.
That's me. That's Dora 2 over there.
Yeah. Ricci Pinfu Dora 2 on the 5/8. So, fortunately for Jeremy, 5/8 not looking amazing because we can see 3 of them across the table and 2 hands.
Sumo. I was going to tell you, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter when you just sumo. And there's an Ura to boot. Oh, Minko has been showing off today. 2 games in a row with just some sparkling hands. And, well, this is a pretty sparkling Haipai, too. Begins with the Anko of the Northwind, 2 Yamen shapes, and 2 Kanchan weights. So already very fast towards completing this hand.
Oh, that's one filled up. There's one filled up right there.
Down. 2 to go.
Just draw a 3-pin, make that a Yamen weight too.
Yeah, exactly. Now we see a 3-pin in the hand to the right. This might have a chance at competing. It looks pretty good. Even a chance at a Sanshoku there as well. The rest of the hands, kind of awkward. Yeah, no one else looking amazing, but can the dealer make progress? That is a pair up, so technically Ishan 10 here.
I don't know if they go Ricci waiting on just the 5-pin, though.
If it's Minko, I think he does.
I mean, I think so, too. It's just that, central tile, Kanchan weight, it's yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. But, early dealer reach. Some people like to throw out that aggressiveness, cause the other hands to play a little bit more defensively, not be able to build the way they want. I mean, the way that Minko's been playing, you'd expect him to just have the nuts. Just like Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 2, Tanya, Sanshoku, after 6 discards.
No, actually, I spun the wheel. It's going to be Ura 3.
Oh, 3, gotcha. Even though we can see 3 of the East winds. The last East wind is right underneath the 2-pin there.
No, West.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm thinking the wrong direction.
Do you see any Wests out there? No.
Right.
Well, you see one now.
There's one. It's gonna happen though. Edwin called it, so it must come true.
Once you get to that point, then that's not happening.
Yeah, well, stuck here on Ishan 10, right? Hasn't been able to make progress since then. And we see a lot of the 2-5, so actually being discarded or held in hand. Now
Takes the
maximizing the
Ryoncon
weights
weight.
here.
Yep.
Of course, ideally you'd get the Dora, but even that's hard to find right now. In the meantime,
No,
has anyone...
Pinzu is just hard to find out there if you just look at the discards to begin with.
Yeah, no
Either
one's
they're
really...
in people's hands or somehow they're still on the wall.
Tenpai hard to find at this point. Everyone needs like a Kanchan fill in the Pinzu. Korak can grab Tenpai with a 4-pin.
Jeremy, the only one that didn't need it, gets the 2-pin.
Yeah, Jeremy had the best weight there and completes it already. Still 2 away from Tenpai though. Now, Steve looks like he's willing to open for Tanyao here. Particularly if a 4-pin comes out, but we can see that's not going to happen. At least not out of Korak's hand. Ooh, this is an interesting choice. Chooses to
Now,
forego
I would
the
imagine
door
Korak
chance.
calls this?
Oh, it's tough
Or maybe
though. There's no value.
Well, no value, but I mean, where do you go around looking for K10, right?
Well, I guess this is
your third row. So
yeah, at some point
there's your Tenpai.
It will be the 2-5 weight. Now all 4 of the 2 so are gone, but it is a dealer reach.
Well, here's the 5-sos are dead. But I can the way I would look at it would be like, okay, the 2-sos are dead. I've discarded the 8. Who in their right minds would reach you waiting on a half dead weight?
Mm.
That's and then the 5-so being Nakasuji to the 4 2s and everything. Like it would seem improbable, right? But the 5-sos aren't coming out. I can't imagine them coming out.
Yeah, Korak would have to drop the 4s.
Korak would have to go to K10 and then he could drop it.
At least the 2 is safe. Believes there are better odds in drawing around the pin tiles.
That would have been the only thing, is if Korak somehow. There. Yeah, now he's fortunate because now he's on 5 Montanki, or he can discard the 5 and wait on the.
The 2-pin was also a safe discard, but judged the 5 to be safe and was correct.
Yeah.
And we peacefully end the round. Minko and Korak, the 2 players in Tenpai, the 2 players in first and second. Now, Minko continues on his dealer. Hypai, okay, not really.
It's gonna need some help. Yeah.
Can use a Dora though. To the right, that looks a lot better. Very pretty shapes. Chance at 3-4-5 Sanshoku. Ooh, looking really good for 3-4-5 Sanshoku. Quite likely that finishes that way. Korak might choose to draw discard in such a way that forces the Sanshoku to occur.
Jeremy was hoping for either hoping to somehow get into some type of Chanta or Yakuhai shape. Managed to draw the second Hatsu, so now they can actually go for it. Actually, now pushing for the Honitsu as well. So now you're looking at Yakuhai, double Yakuhai Honitsu for our Mangan.
Jeremy desperately needs that Mangan. Interesting for Korak here. You discard. I can see an argument for the 3-so or just throwing it back.
Why wouldn't you drop 7-so there?
Or the 7. It's a good floater though. I wonder.
I mean,
so here if you drop the 3-so, then you'd have the Yamen Tenpai in the. I guess you want the Sanshoku too. Currently, Dama Tenpai for Tanyao Sanshoku.
Minko's in a bit of a bad spot here because it's either keeping the Dora, which you don't know if Jeremy needs it, because he could still need it, or dropping the 6, which would pay into Korak.
And usually, when you don't have a chance at Tanyao, you just drop the 6.
Well, you can drop the... Yeah, there it goes.
So a cool 5200. That's actually an important victory to take it
Actually,
correctly.
I actually completely forgot about the Sanshoku. So
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that Korak didn't declare the Ricci. Probably says this value is fine enough, 5,200. I can,
and it's probably the reason why he didn't discard the 7 was to preserve that. Yeah.
Your goal is to try to make sure the Sanshoku can occur. Now, Minko can strike back, has a pair of Dora, but the shapes around it aren't that strong. Now, how many pairs is this? 1, 2, 3. So maybe could think about building into Chitoi, depending on how the draws go. Well, let's make that 4 pairs on the left, and Chitoi becoming a very realistic possibility. However, Korak has a very nice hand. If you can call the Haku, you can quickly speed to a cheap victory. To the right, this looks quite nice as well. Steve with a Ryankan Ryamen for his Ishanten.
Kana 3.
Media Con.
Yeah. Gets the 3-pin pair, so you have 3 pairs and an Anko already. It's still a bit further away, but if you manage to get another Anko here, especially like say get the 7, so you could start dreaming a bit.
Now, flipping the 3-mon as Dora does improve the value of Steve's hand, and he will find Tenpai here. Now, do we see Orichi on the 6-pin? The 8-pin is pretty dead, so it does indeed choose to do that. Oh, there's that Anko, but now you're fighting against Orichi after having made a con. Oh, what is that? Ipatsumo. Richi Patsumo Tanyao. Dora.
Oh, look at Korak being like, but my Urador 6.
Had to go Richie first, and unfortunately Steve got there, and actually that puts Steve in the lead, so claims it away from Korak. Minko's still barely above 30,000. In this South 2 round, the Dora is the South win, and Steve's got one of those in hand.
So does Jeremy, and so does Minko.
Yeah, so it's going to be one of those rounds where it's a question of who draws the second Dora first, or who drops it first.
Minko's hand looked broken enough that I might have considered keeping that 3-mon just in case somehow this thing ended up getting pair heavy. Because everything else just looks ugh.
Yeah, the other argument is to break the 3-mon away from that 2-3 shape, which is your best shape in this hand, and hope that something sticks onto the other tiles.
There's a pair.
Yeah, the pair.
Because now you would have had a 3-mon pair, a 3-pin pair, and now your South is part of a Chitoi.
Yeah, having the Dora be the South and having one in hand.
That's another pair! Minko, why? Your hand was your high pie was bad enough. You could have been like, I have another pair. It's like, why not?
It's real tough to make that call, though.
I would have made that call. Not another pair!
But Edward, we know you love Chitoi. It's hard for a normal player to make that call.
But again, the hand is just like Kanchan, Penchon weights. It's like
I'll keep this in mind for my match that's going to start in a couple hours. So next time I have that awful starting hand, I'll remember. Keep the pairs.
I'm stopping now. Can I
okay, let's be fair. If you're going for Chitoi, you probably have dropped that Force a while ago.
Probably. Well, let me see here.
You had to drop something.
It's likely. I would have dropped like I would definitely have dropped something like the 7-pin, 5-pin first for sure.
Okay,
it just would depend upon how everything developed, but yeah.
Korak got to Tenpai first. Declares to Ricci with Ricci Nomi waiting for 1-4 pin. And yeah, Steve's kind of got nothing here. Does discard the 9-mon. It had Genbutsu 9 So. And now chooses to back out. And again, those 3 players with Adora stuck. Except Jeremy chooses
anymore.
To it. Oh, but the Tsumo comes after. So Ricci Tsumo, no Uda, but we'll pick up an extra 1,000 points from Jeremy.
And that's the lead.
Yeah, steals it right away. So we've got South 3 now, and Jeremy needs something here. Needs to find something special. And High-Pie's okay. It's got a Dora. It's got some shapes. It might not be amazing, but at least it's something to work with. Sure. I mean, we've seen some ridiculous hands from other players, so maybe it's not good enough, but...
I'll agree with that. I mean, like the only real bad parts are like the 1 mon and the 1/2 pin. So
Speaking of ridiculous
not
hands,
not many bad tiles.
to the left, Steve aiming for like Tanyao, Sanshoku, Ipeko, Dora, something like that. Across the table, so many pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. RD Shanten for Chitoy.
If you're
Slots.
gonna go for Chitoy, drop that 4 mon. I would have even. I would even. I would entertain keeping going like the hell weight one. So. Oh, well, there's an Onko though.
So that makes things a little.
Drop the
odd,
4
right?
mon. Drop the 4 mon.
Turn this into a toy. There's potential. Now, of course, we saw the Haku call to the right. Minko really wants to solidify third place here. Finds Tenpai. It's a good weight. 2 mon, 3 mon.
Technically, this is Tenpai if they want it.
Yeah, takes the Riichi. And now Minko knows that their hand is only worth 1,000 points. No idea how expensive Korak's hand is. Do you continue to fight?
Oh, interesting. 3 mon is double overrun.
Oh,
never mind.
Sumo. Reach Patsumo. No Ura again, but
it's 40 Fu, and like that means it's a little bit of extra points.
How many Ipatsu Sumos have we seen?
I don't know.
It's been ridiculous, and a lot of them have been like Kanchan, Shampo. Like, we don't see Ramen Ipatsu Sumo. We see Kanchan Ipatsu Sumo. Absolutely ridiculous. But here we go. The dealership passes. That's so unfortunate for Jeremy, who eats it, right? Eats it as dealer. Absolutely no fault of his own.
Yeah.
And we move over to see the dealer's hand, and Minko. That sumo actually puts you below 30,000, so you're going to have to make put up a fight here in order to get a positive score. But unfortunately, Steve is just pushing forward. Ishanten already, after having made 2 calls, unwilling to drop the door just yet, because you can draw around that thing and a little bit of value to this hand. Currently, not a hand worth enough points to steal first. Oh, look at all these pairs. Oh, Minko's going for pairs. Chooses to maximize the Chitoy chance instead of aiming for something like a toy.
Yeah, but if you're doing that, like, I don't know why you'd. I guess, but like the 5-star would have just been discarded, or the 5-star would have been discarded anyways. And
well, so the 8 pin is discarded to maximize the number of tiles you can pair up on the next draw.
I guess, but like if you're trying to, you're final dealer though. So even if you can't, like, you can try to go for the Chitoy, but you shouldn't try to cut yourself. Now you are Chitoy now. You better drop that 6 pin. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a hedging, right? You can either hedge a normal hand and Chitoy, or you can commit to the Chitoy, and you have to make a decision. At that point, Minko decided, I'm going to commit to the Chitoy. So yeah, some players like the hedge, some players like commit.
Yeah, I just think in this particular case, because you could. How did he avoid that?
1 save tile. Might not be able to avoid it for long. Depends on what gets drawn. There it is. And that is going to be another huge pickup with the Ura 2. Oh my goodness. Well, Minko now in second place overtakes Steve. And the Chitoy pays off. Now fighting for first place. Minko today has been on an absolute tear. If Minko's able to pull ahead and finish with 50,000 points,
the Kanchan fell up right there. They're Ishanten already.
This is ridiculous. Well, let's just draw the 8-so then. If you can finish in first place this game, you can have a fighting chance at first overall by the end of the day. Maybe second. Maybe there's a little bit too much of a gap there, but yeah, definitely drawing closer and closer. Now, Steve not going to let this go without a fight. Ishanten already. 2 Dora might end up discarding one of these pairs in order to make use of both of those. Korak trying to just build anything to confirm his first place.
decides to forego it.
Just cannot find.
Minko is slowly getting something that could actually be callable for Tenpai for just any hand, having not seen the Souths.
Right. And of course, still retaining that 7, so there's a world where he even builds to 5, 6, 7.
Jeremy's Ishan 10. That's but the door, you have to drop the door, right? I mean,
well, Steve was Tenpai and chose not to discard the door. And now Jeremy does choose to discard the door and says, I'll take anything. And, well, at least get something back. Riichi Patsuhaku Ura-san!
So just as Minko had gotten himself above 30 and in second place, Jeremy rips it right back out of him and says, no, you don't. You're coming negative along with me.
Well, what a finish. I'm glad Jeremy pulled an Ura-san out of that at the very end. Was getting just the worst luck in this game, but Korak will finish in first place with a plus 31. Steve recovering 14 points after that second, and Minko with a wild finish ends up negative 5.2, a very small hit, and Jeremy takes a slightly larger one, but did manage to minimize the damage at the end there. Ipatsu and Ura-san required, but did find the Haneman.
I can breathe now.
It is finally over, and of course, scores have been updated. We can see the current standings in Division A1. I believe that is the last match from this group. And
everything is done. Everything is done for today, save for your matchup in an hour and a half.
That's right. So I'll go ahead and prepare for that and relax a little bit after these wild games.
I don't know. There was some talk about these being streamed. We're not sure if we're going to have Mahjong After Dark.
It would be...
although technically, with us being in the winter season, this was all after dark anyways.
Right.
Maybe like Mahjong After Hours or something like that, or Mahjong Overnight. But yeah.
Yeah, it is a midnight matchup for me, so definitely a late one. But yeah, we will at the very least call it here for us and maybe have another matchup for you in an hour and a half. If we do, it will be posted in the news section if you're a member of the league.
And it will be, we'll have it out on Twitter if we do have a broadcast. It would be at American Riichi, and then you can find our this. I haven't. Can you do this? I'm stumbling.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, if you're not a member of the league, you can certainly check out our Twitter for updates on potential broadcasts, and you can join the league at our website at americanriichi.org. Registration for the upcoming season is going on for a while. I think it isn't until mid-December, so you've got plenty of time to register, but we'd certainly love to have you as a part of the league. And of course, if you'd like to check out any of our former broadcasts, a lot of those, in fact, almost all of those are, I believe all of them at this point are up on YouTube at tinyurl.com/ARMLYT.
Go back in history, find all the matches that me and Nathaniel have done, and see how many things have I called.
Absolutely. We should have that in the video titles.
Have a counter.
Commentary team: Edwin, Nathaniel, Edwin, Tucker, Edwin, anyone.
It would just be one of those things where just the counter goes up, but you know, I think it's just funnier if it just
Edwin calls it counters. Just ding, ding,
oh
ding.
My god!
The first couple of podcasts we had were insane. Every single round for like 4 rounds straight, you were calling exactly what happened. But and that certainly happened plenty of times tonight as well. So if you missed the early part of this broadcast, be sure to check it out. It was pretty entertaining.
And we've been on for what now? 4 hours ish.
We started around about an hour, 3.5 hours.
Okay, yeah.
Certainly time to take a break, and so we'll say thank you everybody for checking us out, tuning in. Hope to see you in the next stream. For Edwin, this is Nathaniel signing out for the American Riichi Mahjong League.
Have a good night, everybody.